Good morning, everybody. I hope your day is off to an epic start. It is Friday. It is the 6th of March, and we are live. Look how shiny my forehead is. Huh?
It's not shiny as in
shiny.
Bad shiny. It's shiny as in glowing.
Oh, really? Oh, is that what you... Okay. Oh,
Yes,
that's so
yes,
sweet
your
of you.
Your skin looks good.
Thank you. You're looking good. I see you losing... Yeah. I mean, like obviously, since the period you started on the Ozempic and the smoking. And I mean, it's meant to work conversely. When you stop smoking, you start snacking. That's what most people do, right?
Well, this is why my weight loss has actually been slower than usual, because I am putting a lot of things in my mouth, like popcorn and lollipops and Coke Zero and all the like mouth stimulant stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still craving smoking. I was thinking about it. I gave it up in like October last year.
And you still wake up going, oh, I'd love a ciggy.
Not waking up, but like all day.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it's horrible. It's a mind thing. I don't know if it ever goes away. They said to us on the course, please don't be that grumpy non-smoker.
Oh, yeah.
Going, I'll always crave it forever.
I spoke to someone the other day. I've decided I'm going to can the vape at the end of this month as well, but I'm going to just do it on my own.
Yeah.
I think I can. But I was speaking to somebody on Saturday last week, and he was saying to me he's going to go on that Alan Carr thing that you did for vaping, and I said to him, good.
Yeah.
But I mean, he admitted that he used to have a crystal meth problem, so
okay.
I think he'll be okay. Vape, crystal meth.
Well, listen, tobacco is more addictive than heroin.
Is it?
Yes.
I think that's something that smokers say to make themselves feel better.
It's a known fact.
Okay.
For many
all right.
years.
You know what? I'll bow to your superior knowledge on the subject.
Really,
what do I know?
It's harder to get off of.
So lots of things going on in the world. Nice quiet week, in Iran and
they're all
Israel
around the world. World peace.
UAE. Now, we'll get into Iran a little bit later on. I got home yesterday and I suddenly felt the compulsion to write again. And then I suddenly thought, well, where am I going to publish this? Because I don't publish blogs anymore. So I've written things down, but now I've got an idea in my head that I think I'll just put on the show this morning.
Yeah.
What is our position in it? How does this affect us? Well, in the meantime, you're going to feel it at the petrol pump. That's for sure. Nothing is without cost, right? Nothing in the world is without cost. We had our Minister of Finance last week, and I see Bitcoin Bit in the comments referring to him. Godongwana said on Bloomberg, they have very little outside currency and rely on the gold price rising significantly to strengthen the rand. I wonder how long that will last. Well, gold has been on a massive tear, and when instability occurs, as we've perceived this to be the case in Iran, then gold goes up. So that is good for us. But we're not a major producer the way that we used to be. Do you know that they only, and I stand to be corrected on this, but they only pull, I think it's 10 tons of gold out of the earth every day?
I feel really stupid because
I think it's 10 tons. I'll just fact check me on that. 10 tons of gold roughly is the world production of new gold. In other words, gold that isn't in circulation.
Because obviously no one knew about the gold. And then all of a sudden everyone knew, and that's when the gold rush happened.
What, here?
And that's when, that's when everything was pulled from the earth. But now at what level is it being regenerated, if that's what you call it?
Well, there's only so much gold. And that's why it is a valuable asset, because it's scarce. If something is widespread, aluminium is not a currency we trade in. Aluminum. We don't make precious things out of aluminium, even though it's a much better metal for some things. It's lighter. It's much more.
It's good for keeping the aliens out.
It can be used to build things. Gold is soft. It's yellow. It shines nicely, and it doesn't react with things, which is why we use it in jewelry and why it's considered a precious metal and has been for the longest time. But primarily the reason, it's so stupid, the real reason we think gold is valuable is because it's shiny and yellow. And most metals are shiny and silver.
And it featured in the Bible.
And it featured in all ancient civilization. It was the first proper currency. essentially cash. Cash is a promissory note. If I go to you and I say, I want to buy your sofa, that one that I know you love so much.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some cash. But what I'm really giving you is a promise that if you want it, you can actually go and change that cash for gold. And of course, that doesn't work anymore because we live in fantasy land where you can just make up numbers.
Yes.
And all the smartest financial people know that we live in this land where you can just make up numbers, which is why, and I'm absolutely sure it's already happening, but Bitcoin butts in there. And he's big on crypto because he says that's at least backed by consensus. All the people who have it consider it valuable. It's not as valuable at the moment as it was a little while ago, Bitcoin, but then that's typical for me in investments. The minute I get into something, it's just cuck. And
you
the minute
everyone and say,
I always find out too late. I was like, except with crypto, and I got in early, and then I was like, no, I don't understand this. So it's my fault. I'm not going to knock cryptocurrencies. Gareth, are you Asian now? Your lips are not synced. Okay, no. According to the audience, have you fixed that flex? Yeah. Okay. What is going on with you two? Sound last week was a disaster. This week it was messy at the start. These people in the comment section and everybody who's watching who doesn't comment, which constitutes a far larger share of the total audience. Those people won't put up with this cuck here. They'll just go. These guys do not need, they've got lots of options. They don't need to be here. And I'm very glad that you are this morning.
Even Superman has a bad day.
Even Superman has a bad day, yeah. But if Superman had 2 bad weeks in a row, then they'd replace him with Batman.
Yeah, it's so fair.
All right, so let's see what's going on in the comments section. Bitcoin, says Patrick, is up this week. I don't want to get into a whole discussion of crypto now. I mentioned that in the context of gold. But the whole reason we got onto gold was because of Iran,
it's
oil.
It's usually quite easy to follow. It's like, okay, this country's invading that country. And there's a bit of kickback, but the other country isn't strong enough to defend itself. Then I don't know what's going on.
I want to save it for later, so I'm not going to go into a whole comprehensive understanding of modern geopolitics and how it's upended the order that we grew up with.
Yes.
And that most politicians are still operating. They're operating on a system, a platform, a software upgrade that's about 10 years old, maybe even 20 years old. And there's a new software upgrade that is available, and most people are either because they're pig ignorant or because they want to live in fantasy. They're just refusing to upgrade their software. And eventually if you stop upgrading your software, your device just stops working. So
take any old device into an Apple store.
Correct. And you're going to see a lot of people their device is just going to shut down. Their brains. They're not comprehending this properly. And a lot of the people who aren't comprehending it properly are in the media. So speaking of the media, I see this week that Showmax is on its ass. So these French guys who are running Canal Plus that have bought DSTV, MultiChoice, Supersport, Showmax, all of those assets, they are not fucking around, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
And there we have the story from My Broadband. MultiChoice originally launched Showmax in South Africa in August 2015. And that woman there, Yolisa Patle, she's the one who I had to fight in court when they tried to get me off of Idols. So obviously going really well for her. Nice to see you, Yolisa. Yeah. You've done a great job there. Anyway, I just wonder for people who have been paying for Showmax, like you used to pay your e-tolls, right?
Yes,
and I'll never forgive you.
Fucking TV license yesterday.
Oh, you did? Okay, so now, guys, just unleash all your fury on Leanne.
Can't. How do you make it stop? I paid it, and then I said, right.
Now leave me alone.
Now send me the forms to make it stop. You've got to go and get affidavits.
Oh, for God's sake. No,
yes,
you know what?
You've got to go to police stations.
They're never going to get... I made the mistake and I admitted it on the show, and I don't want to make too much of this because it is boring.
Yeah.
But I sorted this out when I had to buy a new TV last year sometime, and I made the mistake of talking about it on the show. And
they came after you.
the audience, the audience has never let me forget this. And you guys are horrible. And it is easily one of the switches that you use to beat my back, and maybe I deserve it. I think it was the dumbest mistake I ever made to pay that stupid license, because I paid it in full, and then not 3 weeks later did I get an email or a WhatsApp or a whatever. They contact you everywhere.
Oh, it's terrible.
You owe us R5.50 or whatever it was. It's like, I've just paid you. It was better that I just ignored and deleted these messages. So I'm going to go back to that, and you should as well. Going to get affidavits so that you can stop them from harassing you. You see, it's too hard. It's too hard. I'm afraid we are entering an era where people are just going to go, you know what? I'm not signing this. I'm not taking part in this. I'm not going to play your game. And they're just going to opt out of the system. And this is South Africa, so good luck enforcing the laws. Good luck getting the sheriff or the cops to pitch up at your house and take something away because you didn't pay the stupid SABC. Good luck. I think we live in a country with much bigger priorities. And yes, there will be bureaucrats who will try to do that stuff, but don't let them intimidate you.
They will, because they'll go for the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff, the knocking on the door and taking away your TV.
Then you meet them at the door with a gun. We'll see who leaves
Now I
first.
have to go and get a gun.
Yes, but I'll help you get a gun. In fact, we're going to be talking about guns later on in the show, and I think this is really important because we live in a country where constantly the authorities are trying to take away people's right to defend themselves, and we cannot rely on the police. So how else are people meant to do this? And when the SABC come knocking at your door, how are you going to shoot them if you don't have a gun?
Yes, and then after you've given them 16 years of service.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We worked there for God. We had to pay parking every day that we worked there. I mean, that place is just a disgrace. Anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole. What I wanted to talk about was Showmax. So they're canning Showmax. According to Coffee Bean Tamer in the comments, Showmax's biggest fumble was more local content. People who have disposable income won't pay for local content. It's sad but true. That's true, and it isn't. There were loads and loads, and there are loads and loads of really good stuff in the SABC archives. News footage, which could be made into amazing documentaries. The SABC used to be a thing that worked. There was also entertainment that people grew up with. Don't underestimate the value of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And our local content in local languages, whether that's isiZulu, Afrikaans, Xhosa, these are, it's not being produced anywhere else. So it's got to be made here. And people love nothing more than hearing content in their own language. I mean, one of the remarkable successes, aside from SuperSport, in the DSTV collection is CakeNet, because that channel has consistently produced
very strong,
very good content, like really top-class stuff. We had Lorenza Eckhart in here the other day, who does her own show on CakeNet, and she's terrific. She is easily one of the best journalists in the country. So, it's not entirely true that local's not great. And because of the internet, you can get anything anyway for free. I think it's not to do with Showmax being bad necessarily. It's got to do with the huge amount of choice that we have. And the fact that people can go online now and they can find 1,000 things about the most incredible niche subject, content that you could imagine. And therefore, running a network like that is trying to do everything with how many channels? Hundreds. And I'm not talking about Showmax now, I'm talking about DSTV. But Showmax trying to produce and commission its own content, that's expensive stuff. And nobody's paying for it anymore. So we'll have to see what happened. But I do feel for people who've been paying for Showmax for a while, got into it, started to like it, and now it's going to be taken away from them. I would be very nervous if I were a person who depended on DSTV. A lot of people watch TV 24/7. They can't tear themselves away. If that is narrowed or cut back, there are going to be a lot of very angry people. You see satellite dishes all over. Poor people, rich people, old, young, People like TV in this country. It's still a thing. I mean, I know the internet has taken over everywhere, but it's still a thing. And you take that away from people, or you narrow their amount of choice, there's going to be a lot of kickback. And it should still be a moneymaker for them. You know, if you're producing the right stuff and people are watching it and you can charge advertisers, you should be doing okay. But this Canal Plus, these guys are coming in with a scalpel, cutting out anything that isn't making money. And I get it. That's business, right? I'm not going to be cross with them. Ben is a lot more cross with them because of sport and the fact that may be...
That's the whole thing, sport, and then the local content that you mentioned, the really valuable local content, but then it's sport. That's the big thing.
Yeah. Rebellious Ruth says, yes, if you use a VPN, you can watch anything for free. That's true too. People are asking about things like Corne and Twaki. That's local content we love. You're telling me the Afrikaans folk are doing something right on TV. Can't say I've ever watched CakeNet being Afrikaans myself. Well, Nico, it's a very popular channel. And yes, it's probably more popular among old people than it is young. But they're commissioning and developing and producing really great content there. You just do yourself a favor. Check it out. If you've got a subscription, don't go and get one just to prove me right or wrong. But take a look. I was mostly pleasantly surprised by Rian van Heerden's documentary on the Afrikaners in the USA. That's a very good example. That's Colonel Chris Wyatt in the comments. Colonel Chris, good to see you. We got to talk to you at some point about Iran. I'm sure you have loads of insights. But yes, my friend Rian van Heerden, who's of course well known in South African media, produced a show called Verlange, something about those Afrikaners who went when Trump gave free entry to Afrikaners who felt they were being persecuted and prosecuted in South Africa. And they moved over there and he's followed their story. He only got to interview, I think it was 2 families because the rest didn't want to talk. They've been torn apart by South African media who think of them as some kind of, they think of it as a betrayal, I suppose. And they don't like Trump saying that white people in this country
and that there's a genocide
are put upon. Yeah. So there's loads of...
It's called In Beloofde Land.
Beloofde Land, that's it. Promised land. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thanks everybody in the comments too for correcting me there.
Did you see, speaking of local entertainers and people that we've known for so long, Ian van Mimity?
Now, this is 2 people this week. Solly Philander.
Yeah, Solly Philander
and Ian van Mimity. Listen, it's always that, everybody goes, so many people are dying, but they don't realize the previous year was like that. I mean, there's an in memoriam at every Oscars. Far as when I last watched the Oscars, there was an in memoriam.
It's not going to be a year with no one dying.
No.
It's not like zero deaths.
It's going to be that great year where like nobody hops the perch. It's happening all the time, right? I just feel very sad that Solly, I had him on my show a couple of times. He was just a great interview. He used to host game shows on TV. He was a terrific actor. And he was such a part of South Africanness, if there is such a thing. Yes. He had a great sense of humor. He was a lovely human being. He was just lovely. He was fun to be around. You always felt happy and alive and excited around people like Solly. And I can say the same about Ian van Mimity. I didn't know him at all. I don't go to the theater. He was a very accomplished actor. There's Solly, by the way. Yeah, what a guy, huh? Very sad. Well, look, he was in his 50s or 60s?
61. No, 63.
65.
Sorry.
Do we know what happened to him?
He had a long-term battle with cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry. God, cancer must fuck off. And then Ian van Mimity, apparently that was a suicide.
Yeah, so it's not labeled a suicide as such. He was doing a number of a podcast series, I believe, for quite a while now in the lead up to this decision that he made.
Oh, so it was like an assisted dying type thing.
Yeah.
Was he ill?
No. It's something that I need to read up more on, and it's something I only discovered about 2 weeks ago, something called MAID, M-A-I-D.
It's
assisted in dying. Something.
Medical assistance in dying. This is big in Canada.
Yeah.
So was he in South Africa at the
He
time?
was in South Africa. I don't know how it was arranged, but he spoke very much about Dying to Live, I think was his series, about when you get to a certain age. And
He
especially,
wasn't that old.
He was 61.
Really? And what?
He made the decision, he's married and has 2 daughters, but age started creeping in, and I'm sure
God,
maybe some
61?
health issues, but mostly financial issues. And, you know, him and many other people having watched their parents ail physically and this drawn out decades long journey to death. That's painful.
You see, I find that again.
Not everyone knows everything about this thing.
Everybody has to do their own thing. You own your meat, right? You're individually sovereign, and I do believe that people should choose the means of their life, and if they can, their death. I mean, most of us don't get the option on either. You're made, you're created, and you exist, and then something happens to you along the way. And that's the natural way of things. But I don't like the idea of it being made easier. And I've always said that I have this weird, confusing conversation with the idea of suicide in my head often. I think, it's in some ways, I think of the great, Cato the Elder in the desert and in what was called Utica, North Africa, where he decided after he'd been defeated for the umpteenth time by Caesar and his idea of the republic was over. And he realized, I've done my part. And he just smuggled a knife out of supper that night and went out into the desert and fell on his sword. But I think that's noble. It's very defeatist, but it's noble. That he had ultimate control right to the end. I think that's the best possible version of this. But I think for many people, it indicates a surrender. It's like I've just had enough. And I think that's sad because the greatest thing we have is to be alive. It is the most. This is a heavy thing to get into first thing in the morning.
Heavy.
Holy shit!
It's actually been bugging me, this whole thing. There was something else that I saw, which was a suicide, a specialist in suicide, psychologist.
Yeah.
And she said they did a massive study, which is the bridge in America that's well known for suicides.
Probably the Brooklyn Bridge, I'd imagine.
I don't think it was that one, but they did a study on the people who had survived their attempted suicide off of the bridge.
Yeah.
And it was a good handful of people.
Uh-huh.
And they asked them did they feel any regret in what they had done. They said the regrets stepped in as soon as they let go of the railing. Because that's when you realize it's not that bad, it's solvable.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, I see a comment here from somebody about money. Listen, I don't doubt that everyone you know, the people you care about, the people you work with every day, everyone's worried about money. But let me tell you, that's a material problem. And
is it though? Because it can affect
Leanne,
you.
know.
You can't take your medication. You can't eat.
Money comes and money goes. There are people who've been tremendously rich and they end up poor and they pull through. There are people who are very poor and they end up rich. Sometimes you feel rich in your life. Sometimes you feel poor. That is not, if you ask me, a good enough reason for someone to give up on the gift of life. I think so. I'm not going to talk for other people.
Yeah, of course.
It's up to you. But if that's what Ian von Memety did, then I'm even more sad about it because it feels like, he was a tremendously talented guy. What a waste. Maybe he had more to give.
Maybe he was losing more than we know.
Perhaps. Again, I don't know.
I don't claim to know much about this, but it did affect me.
Yeah, that's Audrey who says he wanted to leave some money behind. I don't know if you commit suicide that you're allowed to leave money behind. You know, these policies are if you die
Accidental
unexpectedly
death
or it's
illness.
So I don't know if that helps.
Sure.
And also, money behind for what? If he was 61, he must have had adult children.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be waiting for an inheritance. Again, not to be particular to his story or his family.
Of course, yeah.
But if you're in your 30s and you are waiting for your parents to die so that you can have some money to buy fucking Uber Eats, there's something wrong with you. You need to get out there and you could make a fortune. You could have the best adventure of your life. Instead, you're choosing to what? Wait for your parents to die so you can have some money? Outrageous. It's outrageous. By the way, it's the Golden Gate Bridge you were thinking about.
There we go.
Comments here.
That's it.
Bitcoin Bit says, I lost 200K during the recent crash. You don't see me crying. No.
It's a big loss.
No, and you make, it's a huge loss. And you make great bread. And I bet you had to eat some of your own bread.
Your own humble pie.
Humble pie, Bitcoin Bit. Okay, then when life no longer brings you joy, this is Tracy, when you really just no longer want to be around a burden, that choice should be yours. Sure, I think we've reached a point, though, where if the government are involved and they make it possible for you to expedite medical assistance in dying, remember, they're also full of incentives. If you're the government and someone is costing you more than they're actually paying in taxes, what's to stop them from just saying, all right, roll up, everybody. We'll put some injections in you. And
come and lie on this lovely fur blanket.
These are not good people who care about your health, wealth, and state of mind. They know. They want your taxes, and once you don't pay those taxes and you become expensive to them, they might want to kill you. That is part of the argument in Canada against MAID, M-A-I-D.
Jeez.
So it's a serious problem. They're also starting to do it for people who are just a little depressed. You know, you're in your 20s. Your whole life is ahead of you. You do not know what possibilities could
that's
come.
Unacceptable.
And someone in their 20s will go, well, I think I'm trans and it's too hard to bear and just rather put me out of my misery like a dog. I don't agree with. I just can't find it in me to agree with that. I think that's
definitely not
hugely myopic. Okay, let's go. Colonel Chris Wyatt saying he lost $0 in the Bitcoin crash. So lots of people hopping on this one. Slippery Pickle says, look at Dharma, which is the philosophy. When his mum passed, or you're talking about a person. The book, right? He managed to keep the family together financially, got everyone around the dinner table. He'd say, you listen, part of living is dealing with the tough stuff. It's not always going to be fun. And everybody who believes you should always be happy and life should always be easy, you're crazy. You're living in a utopia, a fantasy realm that does not actually exist. So,
I really know it's a cliche, but the whole thing about gaining experience through the tough times
it's
is
true.
So valuable.
It's true. And you get character and personality and a sense of humor. If it's all easy and life is just too good, and then you inherit a whole lot of money and you live all of your life in luxury and complete disconnection from the reality. That is not a life well lived. You may as well be a pet in someone's house. You may as well be my dog Alice, who wakes up in the morning, doesn't have
lives
anything to do.
rent-free.
She lives rent-free. She gets the same food every day. She's very happy when she sees me. But she's not living a meaningful life. She's not thinking about, well, for all I know, she's not thinking about Hegelian philosophy.
Or ending her life soon.
No, I mean, and the chances are that that's precisely how most people want to be. They want to be a pet. And
yeah, well put.
They want to be a pet. Some people really like just existing because they realized it's very hard and you have to risk it. You have to put yourself out there. It could be dangerous. Maybe it doesn't work. And therefore they live this half-life. Kind of, I'll dip my toe in and then just quickly run away and hide behind the tree.
I would like to have
Hey, hello, Ben.
I would like to have pet days. Like this morning, I want to be my cat Luna.
Oh, yeah.
Other days, I'm very happy with me.
Yeah.
But this morning felt like a good cat day.
I'm glad you're here because I wanted to talk about something. I hear both of your thoughts on this. Apparently, there is a proposal on the table. Everybody wants to be looked after as a pet, which leads into apparently there's a serious proposal in law. I don't know who's making it, but this person should be ashamed of themselves, that your siblings will have to look after you if you're poorer than them. Now, all good and well, you have a nice family, and I happen to have a brother and sister who are very independent, both successful. In some ways, I think I'm the embarrassment of the family because, I'm in media.
You and me both, Gareth.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Anyway, the government proposal, I think it's a government proposal. It's always someone else's responsibility to look after everybody, huh? It's never their own responsibility. So now I would be able to say to my brother and sister, look, I don't feel like working anymore, or, things are really tough. You're going to have to pay for me. You're just going to have to give me money. Not ask them for money because I'm in a tight spot and then they can think about it and come back to me. No, you will, if this legislation gets anywhere near being proposed in Parliament, you will have to support your sibling.
What?
Yeah,
I don't know what to think of this.
they must shambok the person who brought that forward. Because firstly, is there no end to the communists?
Yeah.
Just
Yo.
stop now. Fuck.
Yeah.
But also, it's just, that's not a good time of anyone's resources. And how do you prove this in a court? Sibling rivalries are some of the oldest things in life, along with prostitution and bad weather.
Yeah, what if you just hate your brother or sister and
Exactly,
then
and
you want to take from them?
So them don't get along, and even if they do, they fight. So now,
The jealousy and envy of success. Yeah.
I've nothing
see,
more to add
now-
than just shambok the person whose idea this is.
I agree with that.
As the poorest sibling
Are
in my
you the
family, sure. Why
So
not?
am I.
I don't
And you still don't want to take?
no.
Okay, so I do have quite a bit to say about this because of experience. I go all the way back to my mom being one of 4 kids. She was the one who got herself out of,
Povat.
not Blum, where's that other place? Mining towns all her life.
Klerksdorp, Krugersdorp.
Velkom, thank
Welcome.
you. At the age of 16.
You're welcome.
And started working. Family eventually followed. One sister, special needs. One brother, alcoholic. One aunt lived with cancer for 20 years of her life. Naturally, my mom is then the person who holds
Financially responsible.
everyone together,
Well, yeah.
right? And there was never laziness or not trying from the others. And they would all work together to make this work. In the position now where we've lost my dad, my brother and I are looking after my mom, even though she has the financial resources to
Yeah, but
live on.
families do this,
But we're
Leanne.
helping.
Yeah.
My brother, I was in a terrible situation where I was unemployed for 4 years. I'm still trying to get out of that. I'm still paying off debt. My brother is in a different position. He's helping me with that.
Yeah, but that's what good families
so
do.
where is this natural? My cousins, the 2 sisters, the
I
one
just-
is a
I
doctor,
think
the one
a-
isn't. They're helping each other.
Again, just like with medical assistance in dying, I just think government should stay the fuck out of this.
Yes.
If you come from a nice family, that's what you do. The
Exactly.
story you've just told is you look after your family. And trust me, charity has to begin there. Long before you can help someone whose house just got bombed in Iran, you have to start with the people who are closest to you.
Sure.
And we talk often in this country about a black tax and how,
Yes.
there could be one person who's the breadwinner in a house where there are 10 people, 20 people who are dependent on that breadwinner, or in a family where there are that many people dependent on that breadwinner. And therefore it just chops out at the knees their opportunity to become independently wealthy or to save or any of that stuff because they're busy looking after everyone. That's kind of what good families have to do.
I can't
I don't
believe-
want government making
Yeah.
rules about, they just keep on, they misunderstand the idea that if you give someone money, because government doesn't generate money, you have to take it from someone else.
People generate money for government.
What right do you have other than coercion and the threat of violence? What right do you have to take money from this person and give it to that person? It's not your money to give, government. If someone wants to, out of the kindness of their heart, help their sibling, awesome. Who could be against that? You should be in the position to decide what you want to do with your money. But the idea that because of a bunch of politicians who cannot grow and generate anything themselves, that they have the right to tell you that you must give your money to your sibling. I mean, I'm glad it's not that they can just come in and take it, which they think they can with expropriation, for example. You have no business in telling anyone. I don't have any business. It's why it irritates me when people talk about, oh, Elon Musk should. It's not your money. If you'd taken the risks and built the businesses and come up with the ideas and put it all on the line like he did, and you'd made hundreds of billions, I think he's almost on his way to being a trillionaire now, sure, then you could decide what to do with your money. And I'm sure that you would be so generous. I'm sure that you, with nothing, would find all the depths of your heart to give everything to everyone else.
Yeah.
The thing is,
but you're not.
The people who are going to take advantage of this are most likely lazy, have made horrible decisions in their life. And they don't have any ounce of self-worth.
That's where Ben's right about the commies.
Divisive people, basically.
Yes.
It's just another thing to make people divided. And how do you uphold this in court of laws or whatever? You're going to rip families apart. Oh, these commies have got to stop.
But so you're the poorest among the four siblings. Because it was your brother's birthday yesterday, and I sent him a message.
He's 50. He's doing all right.
And he's okay.
No, my brothers are good people. Independent people. My sister's married.
Yeah.
She seems fine.
Okay. So you're the poorest sibling, Ben.
I kind of have been for a while, but at the same time, I'm not doing terribly.
No, you're all
Do
right.
they give you shit?
Of course not.
Like, not shit. Do
At
they give you
Christmas,
stuff?
do you feel less than?
No. It's just, I mean, if we were to put it down on paper, if there had to
Okay.
be an audit, I'd probably
Right.
come out like towards the back of the pack.
And to your credit, even then, you wouldn't take some of their money.
I don't like, it's weird getting given things. I mean, I'm hugely
Or
appreciative.
it's horrible. It's not. I don't enjoy it. But sometimes.
And they have. I mean, I've got a very supportive family. I mean, I'm not an absolute deadbeat. I haven't been.
Yeah.
My brother
Horrendous
is
stuff.
my brother is way more successful than I am, and my sister is way smarter than I am, and I'm very happy to admit that. But I wouldn't take a cent off of them.
I do provide.
I sent them this story right on our family group.
Yes.
Yeah. So my sister's like, don't get any ideas.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't worry.
In fact, if you are a lesser sibling, send this image right now to your family.
Yeah.
This message.
If you're the poorer member of your family, send this on to them.
Did your brother send this to you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is gonna cause, as you say, division.
Isn't your brother like
Ben.
16 though?
Have you got a younger brother that you're going to tell he must be financially responsible for you?
Yeah, basically.
James, are you the oldest of three?
I'm the middle.
He's
of
the
three.
middle.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, now we're learning.
So just sponge off
I
the
also
younger
saw
one
a
makes
story
sense.
this week, which I also sent to the family group, about how the youngest is likely to be the most special needs in the family.
Well, listen, speaking of special needs,
Okay, let's go,
my
Leanne.
aunt has had,
Is this the aunt who's...
what is the word these days?
Just say it. Retarded?
Yes.
Yeah, she's retarded. I know you're retarded, aunt. Yeah.
She has been
In fact, she's on the line.
on a normal phone. She's been on a like a Nokia phone for a long time.
Well, that's all she needs. That's
No,
her
but
special
she
need.
was missing out on WhatsApp, and it was irritating us because she sends texts,
Yeah, but
and then I miss
she
them.
can read and stuff, so she's... Yeah.
But I should have sent these to James.
Why are they bad?
Yeah, they're very funny, and she's sending them to the family group because we got her a smartphone, but one that only has WhatsApp and like a really nice camera, which is basically all she really needs. But she sends them at 1 a.m, and we're actually we can't.
What kind of stuff? Give me an example.
Oh, shame.
Does she know
She's
it's a
deleted
group?
that message?
Does she know it's a group that you're all on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be a law that you're not allowed to send messages between 12 and 6.
I agree with that.
Let's not have the beeps and ruin our night
No,
sleep.
but this isn't my aunt who phoned me from hospital once at 2 a.m. and said, "When are you coming to visit?"
Yeah.
That's just selfish.
No, she didn't know what time
yeah.
it was. She had no idea. She's
Well,
losing her mind. She's
before
now
you-
dementia setting in as
Before
well.
Oh,
you
my
create
God, it's time.
conversation,
MAID.
look at the time.
It's like, hi,
MAID.
H, capital H, next row. By X is by my free, by you. And then hi.
You said she was
C,
mildly retarded.
enter. Hi, enter.
I mean, some would call it.
I mean, this is
odd,
like
yeah.
letting a Jack
But the
Russell.
funniest is she's finding special
run
characters.
WhatsApp.
You know, like the German B. It's an S.
Yeah, it's an S. Yeah.
And also she's like locked her phone so many times.
Oh my
But anyway,
God.
so my mom just cans herself every time.
Yeah.
It's like a source of massive entertainment to my mom.
You've got to laugh about it because what else are you
have
going to
to.
do?
You have
Run
to.
over to the
And
It's
everyone's
so that you
blaming
can read
me
it.
because I found this like this hybrid phone that's kind of smart.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
I mean, so you got to laugh. Well, you can't read it. So what else do you do?
You just tried.
The one started
everyone's
with bye
confused.
and ended in hi. Oh gosh, and now everyone's blaming me because I found the phone.
All right.
And
Well,
gave them so much joy.
there is. Let's leave gonks alone for a minute.
Yeah.
Although gonks are always a perennially good subject, I've got a group on Instagram with two of my relatives, and we just send each other. You know, we'll get into this a little bit later on because there's something that really worries me. Everyone has to be an influencer now, right? And we talked about the real estate agents a while ago.
Yes, they're all getting in there now.
And this has, I've got very serious, very angry thoughts about everybody trying to be an influencer. Have you got those clips that we saw this week? So remember that there were those two Kiwi women. We want to sell your house. You must come to us, Elspie and Bex or whatever their
No, I
fucking
haven't
name
seen
was.
that one.
Oh, it's so bad. Anyway, I think you were away that week.
It's like the female version of a water biscuit. That's
It's so
two
bad.
women are.
And they really, I'm sure that there are people who, I don't know, people who have a lot of time on their hands, people who are retarded, who watch real estate agents and think their content is funny, and it really isn't. It's very bad. But most people only deal with a real estate agent a couple of times in their life, and it's really over. The relationship kind of ends when they've sold your property. I mean no disrespect to anyone who's trying to sell properties. Just watch how cuck this is, and you'll see what I mean. This is like a local version of this. These guys are trying too hard. We don't want to be entertained. Not everyone should be in the entertainment business. Take a look.
My short-term rental department is blowing up off the charts. I am excessively busy, and this is who I'm looking for, and this is the position that needs to be fulfilled. Guys, please listen up, come a little bit closer. I am looking for an experienced short-term rental accounts manager that can run and head up our short-term rental department.
We had Gareth Soma on the show a while ago. I thought he'd be more entertaining. He's not a bad guy. I mean, he's trying to sell property, but essentially what he's doing here is he's doing a job audition, and Ben, he's trying to make it sound way more complicated than it is.
It looks like he's trying to sort the peace in Iran there.
Yeah, he wants a five-star general.
It's a fucking PA application you're looking for there.
He's
buddy.
looking for someone to do his admin.
Wow. The most heartbreaking thing of that clip, though, is that I posted a video YouTube link yesterday on something that I made. And because you sent me all this fucking shit that we laugh about,
Yeah.
I then linked that video as one of my videos.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, thanks,
no.
James. Yeah, yeah.
Well done, James, for letting
But
us
also
know
it's
so we
like
could delete it.
Thanks, James.
Okay, but that wasn't the embarrassing one. James played, as usual, the wrong one.
Embarrassing for me.
This is the one I wanted you to see. This is now South African guys getting in on the we need to entertain our order. We have an audience as a real estate company. Take a look. Oh, for God's sake. Well, I'm just going to wait until James gets it right. Let's see what happens.
There are two estate agents that I follow. The one is so good. She's international. She does things like she'll be in the laundry room and then she tries out the washing machine on how good it would be if she was bent over and her husband was behind her. She tries out the bed with different
That is an
positions.
entire genre of porn.
That is, it's hilarious. She's very, very good. And then I follow another one, a local one, who's so bad. She has about 10 followers, but I think it's my brother and my friend and I.
Oh, so you follow her because she's
Because
bad.
she's so bad.
Yeah, a mate of
Good
mine.
morning, everybody.
Yeah, remember that guy, that motivational dude I played for you, the one with the beard the other day that you were so creeped out by? I got a friend who lives in America, and he follows 2 South Africans only. The one is this Afrikaans chick. And I don't know if she's self-parodying or if she's
Is she the one with
consciously aware of
hello, besties?
something like that. Yeah.
She's now moved to Ireland. She's like,
Okay.
follow me
Oh, so she
while
doesn't live
I
here.
move to Ireland.
Okay,
And
might be her.
yeah.
Might be her. I know Dr. Hanan's on the line. We'll get to him in a second. The other one is Hanan.
Hannon.
Remember Hanan?
The makeup guy.
Yeah. So,
Who's like got drama in his life with a missing
so much.
lover.
There's so much
and-
drama. So much drama. All right. So speaking of drama, here's Dr. Hanan, who is always with us on a Friday. That keeps us out of drama and hopefully out of mental health issues. How are you, Doc?
I'm well. How are you guys?
We can't hear you. Go ahead and turn that up, James, so that I can actually have a conversation with him.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we are. Now I can. All right. Sorry.
How are you guys?
Extremely well. All right. So I thought about this after our last conversation. You remember we spoke last week about where did the mad people go? What happened to the asylums? But there are still institutions that look after people. And I know one up the road here is called Tara. It's famous as being one of those places in Johannesburg that's been around for, must be 100 years, maybe just a little less than that. But they've helped people over the years with all kinds of things. And I suddenly thought, what about eating disorders? Is that still a thing? And is it still a mental health thing? And maybe we must get into that, because people throw around, just like they do depression and anxiety and all of that stuff, Doc. They also talk about, I've got body dysmorphia. You know, you get some big oak at the gym and he's like, I've been suffering with body dysmorphia for the past 6 years. It's just never getting better. And then you get some thin girl who doesn't want to eat, you know, and it's anorexia or bulimia, and who knows the difference. Are these still classified under the mental health banner, or has that changed? Because, you know, places like Tara used to also help people who had eating disorders back in the day.
So, mental health certainly affects eating disorders, and the other way around. It is a big deal. As a matter of fact, eating disorders are getting progressively worse because of social media and I need to compete and compare. It's much more readily available. You always are looking across the lane to see what the other person is doing, what other people are chasing, and you're always comparing yourself. Am I as thin? Am I as good enough? Am I as pretty enough? Am I as wealthy enough? Am I married to the right person? So this game of comparison certainly makes eating disorder worse. And the 3 big ones is obviously anorexia and body dysmorphic disorder and bulimia and binge eating. Those are real things. And it is getting progressively worse. It is a serious condition. And it's actually, interestingly, it's not even related very much to how the person looks, because a lot of eating disorders are well hidden, and it's really about a person's relationship with food. So if you have a horrible relationship with food that doesn't allow you to function normally within society, and it affects your other anchors, then you should seriously be looking at managing your relationship with food and your relationship with your own body.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting at is that, are these still under the banner of mental health disorders, or do we now regard them, because they're in the area of physical well-being as well, as being normal diseases? And who treats them, and what can be done about them? Are they? You said they're on the increase. That's concerning.
It is getting progressively worse, and most eating disorders are not medically conditioned. In other words, they're not medical conditions. But even though they are considered under the banner of a medical condition, they are very much mental health condition. Again, it's your own perceived relationship with your body and your own perceived relationship with food. And the way you take care of it is you go to the doctor, you might see a psychiatrist, you certainly would see a psychologist that will help you manage your perception of yourself, your ability or inability to not compete and compare against other people, your ability to manage your own relationships, your ability to manage life, because a lot of these mental health and eating disorder conditions are actually a bad relationship with your own self. And how do you manage that? How do you manage your relationship with fear? How do you manage your relationship with anxiety? How do you manage your relationship with, well, am I good enough to put myself out there and be judged by other people? And those are all mental health stuff that you can deal with a psychologist.
I mean, I suppose you've hinted at something else which we need to get into at some point is, and people need to do this on their own too, is the comparing thing. Because very often the people with the body dysmorphia, I'm just taking that category as an example, they usually are bigger, smaller, thinner, taller than anyone else. So they're not really comparing it to anyone else. It doesn't really have any relation to, in most cases, what other people, it's that they, in their own head, they're unhappy with the way they look, right? There's an ideal in their own mind, which they're not reaching, and it's obviously getting to dangerous levels of self-perception and therefore behavior, and after behavior comes habits and bad habits and things that put you in very real physical harm.
So Gareth, I mean, when it comes to people that have these eating conditions, it's actually they never see themselves objectively. They look in the mirror and see something very different to what the actual scale says. So they might be completely appropriate, they might look beautiful, they might be within a healthy range of body weight and fat percentage and lean muscle mass, but to themselves, they are overly skinny and too skinny. They're overly weak and too weak. They're overly overweight to themselves. So their own perception of themselves is completely flawed. And the bar keeps on changing. So they will get to a particular size or a particular weight or a particular, muscle mass. But to them, the bar keeps on changing. So no, if I just do a little bit more, then I will be accepted. And this is actually a very important point, because it's all really a need for acceptance, and acceptance by other people and acceptance by themselves. But the bar keeps on changing, so they never really reach that milestone. So they get there and it's just a little bit more, and they get there and it's just a little bit more. They never really settle with being satisfied with where they are. So it's an endless pursuit of a goal that's never ever attainable, which is really a sufferable state for themselves.
Question from Carl DeSantos in the comments. He says, serious question for Doctor. What about people with a disorder the other way around? There's a guy in my office who is fat, but he thinks he's Zac Efron. Is that a mental problem?
Sorry.
Well, on a serious note, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You must understand that I consider a condition the moment it affects other anchors around you. So if I have a habit, and by the way, eating disorders should be treated like an addiction, like a drug addict or an alcoholic or a sex addict, or because it's your
there's no need to
satisfy.
There's no need for you to name Leanne by name. You don't need to bring up all of her problems in one sentence.
Like Leanne or like Leanne.
So when you start perceiving yourself not in alignment with reality, so you're obese and it affects your health and it affects the people around you, but you think of yourself and you justify why you're beautiful. You could be beautiful, but you justify why you're thin and you're healthy. Well, that is BS as well. But many people do that the other way around. They're not healthy. So for example, the notion of, people are smoking, and how do they justify it? Well, we're all going to die one day anyway. And my favorite justification, which is absolutely unacceptable, is my body, my rules. In other words, I'm allowed to smoke because it's my body, my rules. I'm allowed to overeat because it's my body, my rules. That is the biggest crock of shit. And the truth is, we need to get over that, because the reality is that we live in a tribe. If you lived in a jungle on your own, on a tree, then you can do whatever you want because your behavior is inconsequential to other people. But the moment you live in a tribe, the moment you're in a community, it's not just about me. The whole culture of it's just about me and my right and my values and what I feel, and me is what's fueling mental ill health. It's not just about you. It's about the community that you live with, and you make decisions that apply to everybody.
Yeah.
Strong and true.
Strong, yeah.
All right. So even the producers are clapping, but that's also because James has just realized he can take money off his sibling if they pass certain
He's
laws.
celebrating early. Wasn't he talking about getting drunk this morning?
Oh, God. Yeah, listen, talk about someone who lives in a tree. Fuck's sake. All right. So, Dr. Hanan, I got a clip for you. Have you got that clip at least? Okay. I want you to watch this, especially for you and for Ben and for Leanne this morning, but it's really for anybody who's in a similar situation, and maybe you can offer us some wise words after you've seen it.
Anxiety of the worst OCD in the entire world. Like, I'm on meds for it. But
I have OCD too, and I'm on meds for it too.
What meds?
Lexapro.
Prozac.
Cute.
That clip gave me AIDS. I now have AIDS.
Fair, to be honest.
There are like coming out parties now with your disease and like gender reveal, where you reveal which mental disorder you've got. Yeah, it's fun. It's funsies.
It's so cuck. It's just so cuck. Anything you want to throw in there, Doc?
It is so disordered. It is so sick to celebrate. I'm on Prozac and I've got a mental health disease and I've got anxiety. I've got OCD. It is absolutely sick. It is absolutely sick, and to celebrate that, and other people watching that and wanting to celebrate that too, and high-fiving each other, it is absolutely sick. That's why mental health is getting progressively worse. That's why our attachment to AI, and AI, by the way, would completely reward that as well, because that's the culture that we live in. You have a mental health, high five. You're on Prozac, high five. You are all about me, high five, which is rewarding the wrong thing.
All those people need to do is just support a sports team. Then they can say, oh, I also support Arsenal, won a great season. High five. And then no one dies. It's so simple, guys. Just get sport in your life.
I don't disagree about sport. Just anything that makes you...
Because people want to belong to something at least.
And makes you feel alive and feel like you have purpose and you can play a part. But it's so much easier to pop a pill. And these days, everything that we think is bad or wrong, we want to be able to take a pill and then it'll all go away. That's what people want.
Yeah. It's not like that. There's hard work behind things. I wish I could have taken a pill to stop smoking. But no, you've got to do the slog work behind it.
Yeah. And anything that is worthwhile is usually a bit of hard work, because muscle does not grow when there is no resistance.
But you know what? I don't have an issue with cutting corners if it creates the result. So, Leanne, if there was a pill to help you stop smoking, I would completely go for it. But here's the truth about psychiatric medication. It doesn't solve your marriage. It doesn't solve your job. It doesn't solve your financial insecurity. It doesn't solve your health. It doesn't solve the conflict that you have with your boss. It doesn't solve your ability to step out of your comfort zone. It doesn't solve your ability to enter into conversations and negotiation and be able to compromise. It doesn't solve the real problem. It's actually just putting a filter, but the infection is still there. So I'm all for quick fixes that solve the problem, but I'm not for things that you take that actually mask the problem, but the problem still exists.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not your first patient this morning. You're on fire this morning, Dr. Hanan. It's going to be a hell of a day.
Like, get your shit together.
You're going to be handing out some very real advice today, that's for sure. Dr. Hanan Bushkin, it's always a pleasure, and have an excellent weekend.
Same to you guys.
All right.
Yeah.
So much to talk about, so much to do.
Even beyond those eating disorders that we're talking about, there are then the others that have always fascinated me, like where someone has a genuine fear of a certain food, like they're petrified of cucumbers or something. And then there are people who have a genuine fear of choking.
Yeah.
And they can't eat. Unbelievable. Lots of things to do with food and mental health.
People, I think it's like anything you put into your body. And then there's a wide range of shit there people can have unhealthy relationships with.
Yeah.
That's the truth. All right, so let's get into some stuff. Ben, Leanne and I were talking. We're going to save Iran for later, but there is a lot going on. I saw you were very down about the Proteas.
I wasn't very down.
Well, I don't know. I mean, a mutual friend of ours was in India. Maybe you were more depressed for him because he went all the way to India.
I was sad for Josh. Josh loves going to India, though. I mean, he goes to India so often, he's going to be shitting on the side of the road any moment now. I think he's done like 5 trips in the last 10 years.
What an extraordinary thing to choose. I mean, if you have to go to India, maybe it's a.
Yeah, but like it's
punishment.
It's cricket. I mean, he loves that. And he works in finance, so maybe he needs that sort of live, pray, eat, pray, love, whatever. I don't know how those guys work.
He needs like the polar opposite of what he's living every day.
Something. Yeah, look, Gareth, I think...
like shitting in a toilet versus shitting in the street.
You know what, the thing with the Proteas is that we've often lost close games and it's been heartbreaking. We were absolutely puss-clapped by New Zealand. Like a guy I'd never heard of with a ginger beard scored like 100 off 33. And our bowling attack's good, huh? Our batting's good. I've got a good team. We were the best team going into that match, and we lost. T20's got some variables. You get behind the 8 ball quite quickly in that format. Yeah, they didn't play well. Simple as that.
Well, Bitcoin But's demanding an apology. He says, Ben, last week you shat on my head for asking if the Proteas will choke.
And same again. If you want to live, well done. You predicted the Proteas losing. Okay, well, who gives a shit? That's happened in the past. Why don't you want to be the change you want to see in the world?
Isn't it a 50-50 chance?
That's very eat, pray, love.
Why don't you want to be the change you want to see in the world? It's because of guys like you that this cloud hangs over the Proteas. Ever thought of that? No, of course not. No, it's all about you. All about you. You want to be right. I'm right. Oh, well done, jeepers. I mean, you've really predicted something incredible here. How did you do it?
With that 50-50 chance.
Wow. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some sport while we're on the subject.
Yeah, but something else to really talk about the cricket. I mean, last night England played India in a swashbuckling semi-final. There was 499 runs in 240 balls.
Okay.
So yeah, entertaining. India are now going to beat New Zealand on Sunday at 3:30 in the final. And cricket will go on. We go to New Zealand and play more T20s because that's what everybody wants to see. Yeah, that's cricket, eh? Just kind of nothing to be excited. It was a good week in football, though. James's team, Liverpool, lost to the worst team in England, Wolves.
Oh, really?
Wolves are basically
are they the worst?
Wolves are basically relegated like last August. They're so shit, and James's team lost against
them. Jesus, James, that's embarrassing.
It's hugely embarrassing. Arsenal won, and then because they're now 7 points clear at the top of the log, albeit with City with the game in hand, everyone just now hates them. For so many years, people always made this joke like, Arsenal play all the football, but they can't get the results. Now Arsenal are quite clinical. They're managing games. They're playing slightly more boring, if you were going to be critical, but they're winning games. And then dipshits like James and the rest in the shadow is like, Arsenal, they're so boring, they cheat. Fuck off. These guys are going to win this year. You guys can take it from any direction you want to take it from. I will, yeah.
There's a lot of fuck off coming from you this
people
morning.
Must also just
stop
enough being pricks. Jeepers. So it's FA Cup weekend, though. So FA Cup 5th round.
Yes.
That's this weekend, which is hugely exciting. Pick of the matches there, obviously Arsenal versus Mansfield Town. Which, no, Leanne, it's not a gay bar. That's actually a place where they're going to get excited about things. Chelsea go to Wrexham, which is obviously Ryan Reynolds' team.
Right.
So that's quite exciting. Those are probably like your 2 main matches there. And then rugby. Well, there's 6 nations. So, unfortunately, because England are massive. Do you want to talk about chokers? England.
Yes, yeah.
England going to 6 nations this year on this huge winning streak. They're so great. They're going to challenge the Springboks this year. They're second in the world, blah, blah, blah. No, they were shite. They're completely shite the whole time through. So much so that France are going to Murrayfield this weekend. They're going to play against Scotland, okay? So it's just Saturday, sort of big match. If France beats Scotland this week, they basically win the 6 nations. So that's how far ahead of them they are.
Wow.
And Ireland and England, they've just become second tier, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, I look at the 6 nations this year in a kind of a more positive way.
You could argue that sport's mirroring politics in that way at the moment, because really, England in this whole Iran situation, I don't know if you guys saw this. Maybe you couldn't care less. Most people couldn't. But I did catch a glimpse this week of Keir Starmer, who's supposedly prime minister in Britain, right? The most unpopular prime minister in recorded history. I mean, Robert Walpole in the 1700s had more fans and support.
He's got a good hairstyle. That's what it is.
Keir Starmer in the House of Commons. So after this massive operation, which has been a huge success in only, 5 days? 6 days? The only thing he could be brought to say in front of Parliament was, I would like to assure the British people that we were not involved in this attack. We had nothing to do with it, and we didn't allow them to use our military bases at all. And then within, 3-4 hours, he was like, you can use our military bases anytime you want.
Yeah, he's such a waste,
He's such a beta male
He's like
vegetable of a human being.
Neville from accounting.
God, he's awful. And what an awful man.
And when he speaks, he tries to accentuate points to try and make it sound like it's more.
Yeah. Like he's an orator of some kind.
It's like Gareth Sober talking, I need someone. It's like, fuck you. It's a job application, right?
Yeah, correct.
Just speak the words. No one's buying this whole extra dramatic effect you're trying to put into words. And that's what Keir Starmer goes through. He's got nothing to say. And I'd imagine that the English dressing room at half time with these things also must come back to that. It's like, guys, we've really actually messed up this first half. We've got nothing else to really give.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a trickle-down effect. When the morale of a country is so low, although the Springboks are actually like the opposite of that. Because the morale of the country is so low, they have to be the up. So maybe that's actually England's thing. If England were honest, they could be like the Boks 2.0. They look around and go, okay, our country's been invaded. It's going quite badly.
Don't ask for this because it's a World Cup year.
That's fine. I want the teams to be the best.
You know what's going to happen? Well, we're going to win it this year. We're going to take it home.
Cool.
This year, it's every World Cup since before any of us were born.
That's football.
England has been doing this.
England don't really say it for rugby.
It's coming home. It's not. Just stop.
I want every sports team to be the best. And people are, Gord actually asked me the other day, like, how do I feel about Spurs potentially getting relegated?
Oh, yeah?
And I don't want Spurs to get relegated. It's funny that they're about to be, but it's like Man United. I'm so happy that they're good again. Because prior to this, ripping them off was like going up to a Down syndrome guy and saying, hey, why the long face? You couldn't do that, right? They're so far down, you can't even punch down to them. And I want every team to be great. I want England to be the best. I want Ireland to be great. It's just, when these guys aren't, it's just how it is.
Carl DeSantis says Keir Starmer has the personality of a blanket covered in baby shit.
Yeah.
That's a horrible thought. Ben, did you see the news that Dana White is looking at bringing the UFC to South Africa?
Yeah, believe it when I see it. That guy's full of shit.
Hasn't that been said before?
Yeah, they did. When there was Drickers fever, everybody was talking
cool.
And then they tried, but you've got to have a certain amount of people with a covered roof and
Leanne,
like that.
Spot on. As always. You do nail it on the sport. Yeah. Look, it's a case of finance, guys. We've spoken about this.
Look how proud of herself she is. She's like,
I bet you that 80% of what I said was correct.
But no, just get the microphone to.
Oh, Ben.
No, but
it's been
you're
a
right.
long week.
You're right. Look, we went in this long and hard back when Drickers was like really on top. Is that the UFC doesn't make money coming here. And it'll only make money if people like us, your everyday UFC fans like you and me, are willing to spend like 30,000 Rand on a ticket.
Like you and me.
30,000
Leanne's like,
yeah.
Guys, I mean, look,
big UFC
so with the Formula One.
I trained underneath the chef in MMA, Norman. Right? I've been to UFC
I trained,
fights.
but you mean like...
He trained me.
For how long?
5 months.
Did he struggle cuddle you?
No, I went to his gym and he trained me.
Okay.
But she can, like, don't get her cross. She'll fuck you up.
I'm cross now, so just be careful.
Yeah, look, guys, so how these big events work is that they cost shit tons of money.
Watch out.
That's the actual technical term for
Hold
how
my
much these events cost. So if you imagine a unit of money called a shit ton of money, it's a huge unit, right? Yeah. So for the Formula One, for example, it costs about R1 billion to have it, all things considered, because The FIA like money, and they're very good at getting it too. So what we have to do as a country, we have to clamor around these really gigantic sponsors like MTN and Betway and Discovery, whatever it may be. And then they come along and they basically essentially offer surety. It's like, we can put this much money up, this event can now happen. And this has been taking place forever. And basically 2028, it looks like we might get the Formula One. The UFC's on a smaller scale, but there's just a shit ton of money needs to happen there because the production comes from elsewhere. Dana White's not going to go here and say, hey guys, who wants to host our event?
No,
shut up.
It's not
He
a
comes in
charity.
here, he brings everything himself, and it costs a lot of money.
So on that note, what's happening with the Good Hope Center that we talked about the other day?
It's not going to get turned into a golf simulator, and I'm upset. Some very charismatic Nigerian priests congregation has now bought it.
Oh no.
So they're going to be rinsing everyday South Africans of their money.
Spirit Revelation Ecclesia is what they're called.
Which just sounds like, give me your money.
Yeah, listen, that's the real business. Forget about UFC,
You know what we
forget
should
about
actually-
golf simulators.
Maybe they can fund
the
UFC.
biggest business in this country is selling heaven.
Well, my mum the other day asked if I could please drop off cash for her on a Saturday.
Uh-oh.
And I said, why? And
Is
she
this the
said,
retarded aunt or your mum?
My mum.
Okay.
She said, I'm going to
Is
church
this the
on
retarded
Sunday.
aunt? You should not be taking her cash to nefarious
No,
places.
I've run her bank details.
Okay,
I'm in her bank.
well, then she's lucky that she's got any left.
Put in the wrong code on her card the other day 4 times, and now I have to fix that today
Oh, fuck.
for my sins.
You must
How
have
many
sinned.
sins do you have?
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds like a huge burden.
But anyway, I said to my mum, why the money? And she said, because I'm going to church. I said, do they still do collection? Is it still in that bowl? That
She's
with the-
giving money to...
With the, I said, are you giving money to the
Just
church?
hold on a second. I have a big problem with this. You've just told us that your mum, out of all of her siblings, has to pay for everything.
There's this religion thing with my mum.
And she gives money to the church?
She gives like the 20 rand that goes to the soup kitchen.
Okay. That's what they tell her. If
I
is
know.
she part of
I
spirit?
said to her, how much do people give these days? Because I remember we used to give coins
Yeah.
into the red velvet pit. But I don't know what they do anymore. I said to her, is it still red? Is it still velvet? And how much is it now?
Wow.
But yes, to get to your point of religion siphoning people's money.
This is what happened. All right, so there's no hope for the Good Hope Center. It's going to be
Well, it's
turned
gonna
into the
become-
False
it's
Hope
this-
Center.
Yeah,
Is that
it's- They'll probably call it the New Hope of Ecclesiasticles or
Yeah, sure.
something. But yeah, it's a shakedown people. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
the shakedown sheiks.
Charismatic pastors are shakedown artists.
Yeah. I mean, especially in this country, because there are loads of gullible people who just desperately want hope.
And I think it was, should I forget, I think it was 135 million.
You see, where does a church...
So who fronts that money?
Where does a church get that money? You talked about Dana White not being able to bring UFC here because we can't scrape together enough cash, effectively. That's what you just said.
Well, see, the second part, until both of you sort of charmingly distracted me again, is the second part.
Blame us.
Well, it is. 'Cause
You're like Leanne. You can never take responsibility.
You two and your ADHD and you'll give... So with Formula One, you can get sponsors, okay? And you can do these kind of things. With UFC, they don't care about sponsors because they sell their massive TV rights to one person.
Right.
And then they've got like a clothing thing. So you can't come in and say, cool, Dana, we've got 7 sponsors to offset how ridiculously expensive these tickets are going to be. He's like, shut up. You don't get to sponsor in the UFC unless you're going to be a title sponsor or something. So we can't front that money up there, which just makes the event even more difficult. Whereas in other events, you can have partners that then come as presenting partners.
But effectively, I mean, my comparison is to say, how did these oaks buy the Good Hope Center?
Because they know how much money they're going to make in the next 5 years. It's a business plan.
It's a business
Someone's
plan.
put it together and they go, I'm investing in
Right.
that because you guys get good return because you're selling heaven.
All right, so before you go, Leanne, this is very big news for everybody who loves a little hallucination.
You don't want to talk about Formula One.
Psychedelic. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to it. Don't worry, Ben. We're breaking it up.
You've completely moved on.
Maybe I have. Ancient Greece. This is far more important to me. Ancient Greece's most famous oracle was high on gas fumes.
So
This
do
is
you
a
know,
story-
perhaps, I knew you'd love the story because it's history and science. Science?
Yeah.
Chemistry.
Chemistry, yeah.
Do you have any idea who they may be referring to?
Yes, the oracle of Apollo at Delphi.
Yes, also known as the Pythia.
The Pythia was the high priestess.
And she apparently used to
She'd sit on a tripod.
Yes, there is a photograph, James, if you want to.
She'd sit on a tripod.
And
she just cooked, huh? Yes, she's taken all of the took.
So for centuries, people traveled to this area in southern Greece to hope for a glimpse of their future, because she would just start spewing absolute shit and say, she was like that woman who would, if you said, my dad died 4 years ago, is he in heaven? And she'd go,
yeah, Sylvia.
No,
Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia.
Don't say that woman.
I couldn't
Sylvia.
remember her name.
She's a big deal, all right?
Some
But this
respect.
is the Sylvia of her time.
Yes.
So
but
you'll
they
notice,
found-
go back to that picture, because on the left of the picture, on her right, is something called the omphalos. That big stone?
phallic thing at the bottom.
That big stone. The omphalos. The navel of the world. Supposedly the stone that Zeus's mother fed to Kronos. Gaia fed to Kronos. Not Gaia. Hang on, I've got to get this right. Zeus's mother was... doesn't matter. Anyway,
Zeus's mother had big hands if she's
had
feeding
big
that rock to someone.
Yeah, they were quite big, these gods, supposedly. So she fed the stone to Kronos instead of... God, I'm really fucking this up.
Trust me, Gareth, at this stage, we'll believe anything you say.
No, Ben, we will get back to Formula One.
Who's the oak taking notes? Go back to the picture there. Maybe this will help you jog your memory. There's like a scribe. Is he writing down the prescription
Well, of
afterwards?
course, because she's high and she's busy giving predictions about what's going to happen.
And then he writes, and then you pay
in
extra
riddles.
And then you get your...
They need to interpret the riddles. No one's going to remember. Look at those oaks. They're all old. They're not going to remember. Anyway, the omphalos is the center of the world. What Zeus did is he survived his father devouring all of his children. Kronos or Saturn is his father.
He ate his children.
He ate his children.
Okay.
Delightful.
Well.
Family.
And we're worried about a sibling law.
Yeah, family gathering around the fireplace, sharing stories. Anyway, Zeus's father was going to eat all of him and his siblings, and the mother then fed him that stone, and he thought, oh, well, that tastes like a child, and went to sleep. And then Zeus was raised and eventually came back and defeated his father.
I just feel like the people who wrote these stories were
Well,
also
it's
on...
like that
they
chick,
were
she's
also
high, yeah.
So the temple was constructed around a natural spring
Yes.
where the water and fishes in the rock produced a sweet-smelling gas called pneuma, with a P.
Pneuma, yeah?
Yes. And this is how she entered her trance, by inhaling this stuff. She might cry out, become hysterical, or collapse.
Like any woman.
So for years, they've been doing excavations. The first modern excavations happened in about 1892, then again in 1950. They failed to find this source, this large fissure. But apparently they now have found that these... it was probably a light hydrocarbon gas that rose from the limestone under the temple.
Ether.
And such chemicals are found in a lot of geological formations all over the planet, which might explain why there's so many crazy people.
That they're all high on hydrocarbon gases.
It's got to do with tectonic plates
Yeah, sure.
and friction. And
Sure.
But yeah, so people believed her
The Pythia.
for decades. In the meantime, she was just purely high on gas.
Well, aren't most of the great philosophers? You could argue that everybody who's had a mushroom journey or an ayahuasca experience, and you meet these people all over the place, right? Some of them are very smart and insightful. They've had a great spiritual experience. Some of them just really like getting high. But they're essentially all trying to be their own Pythia in the oracle at Delphi. That's what's going on.
Made my week feel more normal.
Okay.
Reading that.
Yeah, so now you don't have to worry if you have any strange visions. That's good. That's very good. All right. I do want to, Flex, have you managed to get that clip to play of those other estate agents? The South African ones. I just want, while we say goodbye to Leanne, just to get back to that, because I did promise people there was something funny in that. And here it is, just for your edification and enjoyment.
I wanna turn the whole thing upside down.
Hi, I'm Wagner. Let's flip your property with Remax Team Flip.
Werner's on a sex offender list somewhere.
It's just not please guys, not everybody needs to be an influencer. Let's not do that. It is, however, the start of the Formula One. I embarrassed myself on our call with Ben earlier this week because I said, are they going to still have it? Because, Bahrain. And he said, no, that's further down the way.
Yeah, traditionally, Gareth, it starts in Australia.
Australia.
So, Melbourne, Flinders Park.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you go to Melbourne anytime outside of this week, you can walk your dog on this track. You can drive it in your own Hyundai Atos. Because it's nice. It's just part of the community. Look, you never know what's going to happen in Formula One until literally lights out on race day.
Huh.
They do all the practice and the preseason, that kind of stuff. It's mostly bollocks and people are just trying to be evasive with what's happening.
Sure.
But first practice session revealed that maybe this time round Ferrari is going to bring something to the table. But the Ferrari like the Proteas. They can do amazing things, but they're not going to cross the line. And the thing is, it's also like, is this Lewis Hamilton's final year? Because as you get older, your reflexes wane. He's already said he's not going to be as quick as he ever was. And then, he's already dating a Kardashian, so he's on the way out.
Oh, that's bad. That's a bad sign. Which Kardashian, by the way?
He's gone straight to Kim. It's the big one.
Oh.
That's the Queen Kardashian.
She's like a black widow. Look what she did to Kanye.
So that's the thing. And Formula One is about teamwork. You need both guys firing. That's what made McLaren so good last year, because both of those rent boys were firing at the same time. So now, if Ferrari's got this really great car, but then you got a waning Lewis Hamilton, and let's be honest, like an underperforming Charles Leclerc. There's a guy who Ferrari gave the biggest contract to ever because they had so much hope in him being amazing. And all the women like him because he looks all cutesy and stuff, and he's got a good-looking dog. But if the Ferrari don't do it this year, then it's a bit like the Proteas. When are they ever going to do it?
Oof. Who is that other chap who everyone always talks about in Formula One? How's he doing, old Verstappen?
So Max is, the Red Bull's actually looking quite good. So going back to the whole teamwork thing, is that Max has been driving by himself. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda was playing Mario Kart to the back of the grid last year for most of the season. They gave that Kiwi guy a chance, and they just ripped the rug under his feet after like 2 races. So he's got this new guy, Hadjar, who seems a lot more sort of, I don't know, a bit more hardcore, but more assertive. So maybe that's going to be a really good thing for Red Bull. They're all under Ford engines now, so Ford's gone quite big into the grid, and they're looking pretty good. So initial qualifying or initial practice for them was looking quite good. Lando Norris did not have a good start to the Aussie Grand Prix. He's got some downforce issues or some shit. And Oscar Piastri, thereabouts. So all the big names are going to do well because the cars are just that good. Whatever teething problems they may have, they'll sort it all out. And then further down the grid, you're going to get the middle of the pack. Like the middle class in Formula One is really huge. It really is. And
nobody knows their names.
But it's big and it's competitive.
And nobody cares, whether they're at 14 or 12 or...
Yeah, so everyone's going to be interested in how Audi's going to go in the first season, but it's the first season. There's no ways you just come in there. Even if you were to buy the best engineers, there's so much that happens, so many nooks and crannies to get into within Formula One. And there's so many different points that you can find
progress. Are there any teams I would be surprised to know are even in Formula One?
Cadillac.
Oh, you're joking.
They're a new team.
Huh. See?
So Cadillac, it's great for the American market. They've come in. They're a whole new team. There's an extra team on the grid this year. So the cars are going to be slightly smaller because they want better racing. And obviously, out of respect for tracks like Monaco, in the years gone by, everyone says like, Monaco's too old-fashioned. We shouldn't go there anymore. It's just the cars got so much bigger, which is not fair, really. It's not fair. Because things get fatter doesn't mean everything else must change. Airline travel's a lot like that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
So that's Formula One for the weekend. So with it being Australia, of course, they live in the future. So it'll be in the morning for us here in South Africa to watch that. And I'm excited for the Formula One season. I think there's enough of the new, there's the existing, the fact that Norris won last year to kind of break the Max dominance. We are moving into a whole new era now with all the cars. Everything about Formula One is slightly different, and it's really exciting. And there's a new race in Spain. Yeah, I just think it's a really good time to maybe get into Formula One or to get back into Formula One. They had that massive peak with Drive to Survive, plateaued a little bit, This new season is going to be amazing, and it all starts this weekend.
What about Russia? You told me that Russia may be making their way back into world sport after exile. Is this a thing?
You know, because they cheated and they had their own state-sanctioned drug labs.
Yeah, and because the whole world is pretty much anti them at the moment, with the exception of China and the once rulers of Iran, right?
So there was always going to be a time, because when you get banned, like they weren't banned forever. It's not like Russia was now never.
Oh, so the sunset's coming.
Kind of, yeah. And obviously they'll have had lawyers go to different courts and do that kind of stuff. I haven't been following the story too closely, mostly because it's Winter Olympics orientated and we're not going to get that on TV. So I'm not going to get my hopes up. But essentially, Russia, their athletes were under different flags, or they were like under this, like some even go into the refugee team. But Russia are going to be back in the Winter Olympics. And obviously Ukraine are quite pissed off about that. So there were various boycotts in the opening ceremony.
Well, the last time they performed or competed under their own flag was back at the 14? Was that Paralympics or something? I mean, so that's humiliating for them.
No, it's hugely humiliating because it's another country that does quite well with Olympics. Like they're a big country, lots of people.
Sure.
Very aligned to Olympic sports. And like I was saying earlier, you want everyone to be your best, to be the best competitive games, whether it be games, tournaments, whatever it may be. So not having Russia is not great, but having Russia all juiced up is even worse.
Yeah, so because then you can't tell the men from the women.
Hopefully we find the happy medium where these guys just don't cheat on like a...
That would be nice.
...massive national government level. That would be nice.
That'd be great. Come on, Russia.
Don't cheat.
Yeah, try not to cheat.
Don't cheat.
All right, and then... I think it's probably also worth just mentioning your. I saw a highlights thing on your Instagram yesterday about the Winter Olympics, and you complained now about how we couldn't watch it on TV, which is totally legit. We've spoken about just before you arrived. Showmax is shutting down now, not just things like the Winter Olympics that won't be available in SuperSport anymore. So the Winter Olympics, we're going to have to go there. That's the only way we'll see it.
It is, and the Winter Olympics was the precursor to DSTV as we know it being never the same again.
Oh, well.
You know, like, Gareth, this show has gone through many eras of our life, huh? We're now in the Canal Plus era where we're going to get less, and we can't expect more anymore.
Okay.
We're going to be at the soup kitchen of entertainment. We're going to line up for... dog shit.
We're going to have to watch estate agents selling shit.
Well, if the Proteas keep losing in the World Cups, the Frenchies will probably go, we're not going to watch this anymore.
Yeah, and then the Proteas will have to be selling properties.
Oh, jeez.
For all you know.
The Proteas will be flipping properties and batting lineups.
Wagner needs to buy curtains. That sound was terrible. I think Wagner lost an office bet. People just love piling into these guys, and I don't blame you. Serious question, with all these boycotts, where are the baby girls sleeping?
It's a very good question. I don't have the answer right now, though.
Who was the hottest woman at the Winter Olympics that you managed to scry from all of that?
I don't objectify women like that.
No, I know you wouldn't.
I look at their athletic abilities.
I know you wouldn't, but we've discussed this with regard to the Summer Olympics. I thought it was only fair that we consider a few figure skaters, downhill skiers. No?
Look, Winter Olympics was a very tough time for me. I didn't even bother watching the highlights in the end because I felt like I was on the outside looking in. You know, like when you never take it to the game and you go, I can stand by the fence. It made me feel like a third-rate citizen.
Now, before you go, just like I had to keep Leanne for something, before you go, we have to talk about Britney Spears. Because...
where do we start?
You know, I really thought, okay, I watched Britney in her heyday. She was every guy's dream girl at one point. She really was. She was this cute, adorable, delightful, sweet, innocent, lovely, and very good songs, like just harmless pop music, right? She was just everything, and she was from the South. She came from a poor family. We didn't know a whole lot about her, and probably we were saved from, knowing all the things, because she is a walking, talking, drooling chocolate fireplace at the moment.
She got arrested this week as well.
Good Lord. Do we have any of those videos? Yeah, we've got to show people these because these came out this week. And just when you thought Britney couldn't get worse, this is the kind of thing that she put this out, right?
She's always, well.
Yeah. I mean, no one's watching her.
It's not like someone's breaking into a house and saying dance.
Yeah.
She's doing it herself.
No one's holding her at gunpoint and saying, dance.
Brittany,
Brittany, get on there.
In your contract here, you must dance like a drunk auntie from Margate. No one says this to her. She does it herself.
All right, take a look. Mm-hmm. I just love this. My favorite thing.
Brittany's a big file. Takes a while to load.
I'm not going to say anything until it happens. You know, I was on this other show this week, and it was amazing. Everything just worked.
Incredible. Huh?
And I suddenly got back here and thought, well, it doesn't seem to work here. What's the difference?
Is it? Do they have bigger computers there?
I think they must have bigger computers.
Right.
That's what it must be.
Okay. Well, we solved
Have you got that clip yet?
And ladies and gentlemen, the Epstein files are now saying that Britney Spears is cloned. We all wondered what happened to the London look. Why does she have that gap in her teeth? It's because it's not Britney. The Britney Spears that we have seen, especially recently, is not Britney Spears. Who would put gaps in their teeth if they had perfect pearl whites? You remember Britney like this. This was Britney. This is Britney Spears. This is not. This is Britney Spears. This is not. This is Britney Spears. So Britney actually recorded a song called Original Doll. And here are some of the lyrics. The chorus says, she's the original, she's unforgettable. She wants you to know, yeah, she's been cloned. It's kind of incredible. She's so unpredictable. Yeah. She wants you to know, yeah, she's been cloned. She's been cloned. She's been cloned. And did this record come out? No, it was canceled for unknown reasons. What? I definitely feel like when Britney Spears was a judge on X Factor USA, it was still her.
I have no idea who that woman is. We were going to watch Britney dancing, which is bad enough, but I have to address this. Why is the Epstein files, the story of Epstein, okay, there's so much going on in the world, and I'll get into some of the politics just now. Why is the Epstein files like a magnet for all the craziest people in the world? This chick is talking about cloning as if it is something that we are doing, that there are facilities anywhere in the world. You could walk in, you could say, my dog is about to die. Please clone it so I can have a new dog exactly like that dog. And you can't. There is certainly no cloning factory for humans. If you believe this stuff, you need to take meds and to go and find something to fill your day up. You are believing in absolute fucking bullshit, and it's embarrassing for the rest of humanity. If the aliens only intercepted that chick's transmission, they would go right past our planet, or they'd blow it up.
That's why we got to keep playing it so the aliens leave us alone.
Well, okay, so she's saying because of the gaps in Britney's teeth she's
move.
A different person.
Teeth move.
Yes,
teeth have
and people get older. I don't know if you've noticed, some of them lose their teeth.
She probably took her retainer out.
Also, if you have
4 years ago,
if you have a meth addiction, which it's likely she did at some point,
your teeth come off
very
second
bad
best.
for the teeth.
Very not good for your teeth. No.
So not a complicated thing to divine. You don't need to be Nostradamus to figure out that this could be the same Britney and that she's just been on a huge tip of alcohol and drugs for the longest time. Her life has fallen apart. And it's not impossible to believe. So you know, again, I said earlier, Britney used to be this sweet, delightful. You saw some of those pictures of her.
Well,
this chick is still stuck there. She wants it to be true.
I was going to stop you there because Britney was actually never sweet and delightful. That was the Trojan horse to sell
pop music
and sex. Britney was like the start of like all the filth, really.
Really, you think so?
Absolutely. Like from the high school outfits all the way through, that whole sweet girl thing was just an absolute facade.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then out of nowhere, she was like doing like ground thrusting, leather, snakes, anacondas. It didn't. No, I really think that the whole sweet girl thing of Britney was always a mess and a facade.
okay.
Christina Aguilera was seen as like the slutty one, but meanwhile she was actually more wholesome.
And she wasn't, you're saying.
But that's how they played it.
She was the...
And look how they're sucking
She was the gateway drug to all the filth that came afterwards.
Britney basically was. Britney basically was the start of Sodom and Gomorrah as we know it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well...
and that's why she's fallen off the rails as hard as she has. Because she had such a heavy burden of being the filth of the industry. And Britney was, she was the floodgates to all that we're seeing. Epstein files.
Oh, you reckon she's involved in all of that?
Britney was patient zero there.
You and that chick who did the clip we just saw. All right, well, I mean, I hate to leave it on a clanger like that, but that's horrific. Coffee Bean, you're behind on the live. So apparently the people correcting each other. This is Rebellious Ruth, who's, of course, the chairperson of the comment section. Let's not forget her kissing Madonna, says Vyasan. There's another example of the filth and depravity you're talking about.
Doesn't help.
Louis says, speaking about believing everything you see online, I have a friend whose algorithm keeps spitting out fake news reels, and he keeps forwarding them to me because he believes they are true.
Not your friend.
What an idiot. There's always everybody has a person in their friend group. I am amazed to see how many people are sending clips of Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, really just lunatic asylum stuff. And people are buying it, hook, line, and sinker. They're like, well, it's the Jews who decided that Iran needed to be taken out, and that's why they're doing it. I have to go into this Iran stuff, so you don't have to witness it, but I've got a lot to say. I am amazed at how myopic and simple and idiotic most people are about a very big and complicated international situation. They want it to be simple. They want it to be good people, bad people. They want it to be war, not war. They want it to be in and out in 5 days, like Maduro. Not even 5 days, 5 hours. Or they want it to be a forever war. There's no in between. There's no nuance. There's no understanding of very basic concepts about how the world is a complicated place, where there are different power dynamics. There are strengths and weaknesses in every country. There are global interests. Sometimes those global interests compete against each other. It is not so simple that you'll be able to put it on a clay tablet and pass it around on the internet. You can't do this. People are dumb. And I'm not going to be one of those dumb people. So I'll get into it with you a little bit later on the show. If you want to join us for that, that's coming up. We've also got Gideon, who's Paratus on social media. He's going to be joining us to talk about guns, because people in this country want to know what the situation is. They want to know whether or not you can have a gun, what the laws are around what gun you can have, and why they keep wanting to change the laws. So we're going to have to look into that too. Alex Jones, says Steve, is the OG. Yeah, I mean, again, there are frogs in the drinking water. They're making us gay. That was his thing at a certain time. Talking about sport and hot women, the Proteas' wives are mostly gorgeous. Seeing them in The Crown was a silver lining. Okay. I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. And then someone's saying, they're also saying Jim Carrey has been cloned too. That's from Judas. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. People talking about how the Jim Carrey that was interviewed, I think at some recent awards show, just doesn't look anything like the old Jim Carrey. I got bad news for you. People also, apart from going for bad plastic surgery, people also get older. So they do change. And they're not going to look like they did when you liked them at 20 years old. So you got to get over this stuff. It is time for the window seat with travel.co.za. And the guests that we have this morning are no strangers to the show. In fact, one of them completed the 36-kilometer swim that we last spoke to him about. In 14 hours and 15 minutes, every kilometer that Simon swam helped fund education for students through the TAG Foundation, and that's where the brilliant and very generous Jonathan Gadber comes into it. He's, of course, the CEO of TAG Travel, so we've got both of these gents back with victory on the table. How well done.
Relief and victory.
Very good job. Yeah, nice job, Simon. Nice.
Thanks, Gareth. Yeah.
Well done, dude.
I
took the piss out of you last time. I said, you're going to get cold. What a cuck idea. Why do you want to put yourself through this? And you were like, just shut up and let me do it. And you've done it.
It did get cold,
Well
though.
done.
It did get cold,
Yeah,
but it was
sure.
good. Yeah, no.
I'm sure.
A proper relief to finish it. It was honestly, it was amazing. Amazing experience.
So this is amazing. The English Channel, there you are on the screen swimming it.
What's this?
English Channel. Did you feel like William the Conqueror when you landed on the other side?
I tell you, it is. It was. We started quite early in the day, so it was sort of an 8 o'clock start, so morning start. But then we finished in the middle of the night, so it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So literally couldn't see that beach until I literally scraped it with my freestyle crawl, and then I knew I was there. It was so dark you couldn't see anything. So it was quite scary. But then when you hit that beach, it's the most amazing.
Why do you swim at that time again?
So we were just waiting for the tide. We had bad weather the entire week. So
like William the Conqueror.
You literally
couldn't launch off of
exactly. So
Normandy.
you have a week. You have a week window, and it was literally the last day before we were calling it quits. So captain called us in. We started. That was the best time to go, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we just kind of went for it. It was good.
So let's get to Jonathan on this one quickly. So did he make you some cash for the Tag Foundation?
He did very well, and it was actually amazing because these guys are. So I said to Simon and Natalie's wife when we started, I said, you've got to get onto you've got to ask people, you've got to and they were very reticent to say no, that's not our style, that's not what we do, whatever. And when Simon started swimming, we got this WhatsApp group going. And you cannot believe the energy that this WhatsApp group had while he was swimming. And then, so we'd raised up until that point, I think, about 75, 100,000 rand. Something like
phenomenal.
that.
That's already pretty good.
Which is good. But then everybody got into this cheapers. What's he doing? How's this? What's going on? And it was a Friday. And it just was incredible. And
do you think Oaks were drunk at home catching up on the info?
Well, later
putting
on,
money in.
Later on, but during the day, the guys really got into this thing, and Simon ended up raising close to 550,000 rand. So it was really incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
it was an amazing.
Okay, that's
result.
great.
So delighted.
Just remind everybody again, the Tag Foundation, which we spoke about last time, you help kids at school and one particular school, and you've been doing this for years, Jonathan.
Yeah, that's
And the
right.
Tag Foundation does all the things that these kids need to be able to, compete in sport, do their academics well, participate in community stuff, and get out of school with a really, really great character, because it is character building, with a feeling of huge accomplishment. And then they can go out into the world and make a huge success of themselves too. And you guys hold their hand through all of that. I mean, obviously, these are talented and amazing kids to start with, but a lot of them don't have the cash or the support system to be able to help them through the situation. So, in short, you guys do.
Yeah, so just to correct you there, it's now 2 schools. So it's King Edward the 7th school.
Oh, you've got the girls as well.
Parktown girls.
That's right. Okay. I always forget about them, but it started with kids.
It did, and it started in 2009 with one boy, Foxy, and he did incredibly well, and it's just really grown from there. And somebody actually asked me the other day, do you have any big corporate sponsors behind you? And it's an incredible thing. We don't actually. Yeah. It's just a bunch of friends, parents, interested people, people I deal with, people I work with. And now we've got 55 boys this year at King Edward's. And we've got 16 girls at Parktown Girls. So we paid our school fees last week, Friday. So it's both a daunting thing and a very good thing, because at least our commitment for the year is done. And now we start raising again for next year. But just to talk to you about that, I mean, yesterday was the start of the Springbok alignment camp. And one of our tag boys, is said to him, Nabele, is actually there.
Phenomenal.
So that is our first sort of soiree into the Springbok.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's amazing for us.
We could be watching really one of your tag guys on.
Yeah, hopefully. There were 2 of them last year that played in the Under-20 World Cup final and won it. The fly-half, Vusi, and obviously is said to the hooker. So, something we're really proud of. Not that rugby's the be-all and end-all.
No, but it's a great
as you said, these are talented kids grabbing the opportunity. And really,
So were you
really
tempted to swim the English Channel as well?
I think you should.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You know your limits. I know I couldn't.
Absolutely
not a chance. All right. So what did you learn from this that you didn't expect, Simon? Because this is, people. I love when people set an audacious goal, and it could be something that just means a whole lot to them, or it could be something that does an extraordinary thing for humanity. It could be what Jonathan's doing, which is changing a lot of lives every year and making the whole country better as a result. That's a big deal. But what did you learn out of this? Because I know you wanted to do it and you succeeded at it, which is tremendous. But what was a surprise?
So I think a surprise was you literally, I think even waiting on the boat to go onto shore and then start the swim, I still didn't know if I was going to make it. It was very much, it's just step by step or stroke by stroke, and literally just one at a time. It wasn't, it's such a goal, it's such a distance to look at if you're looking at the whole thing. But we just did it
36
hour by hour.
Ks. I mean, that's
it was brilliant.
From Joburg to Pretoria.
Yeah,
something like that.
Ended up being about 45 Ks with the currents and the tides and things. So it was a long day out.
And you were in the water for 14 hours.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about while you're doing this? There you are in the video doing
there
it.
We go. Yeah, I look a lot slower on the videos than in real life.
Sure, but I mean, that was probably some way in.
That's it. I try to keep it so simple. It was just literally mantras in my head on the strokes, because you got to remember that it's also 16-degree water, so you're kind of fighting that cold battle as well in your mind. So trying to keep it very simple, stay present, and just go. Just stroke, 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 stroke. It sounds very boring, but that's basically what happened.
Is there a reason you decided to do it at the cuckest time of year to do it, in terms of weather?
That was right at the end of the season, I think we were the last swimmers of the year.
Yes, why?
Sucker
for punishment, that's what you are.
It's the only slots you can get. It's busy. It's busy.
And do you, at that time swimming, have to worry about traffic across the English Channel? Because you got a lot of boats and ships and things. So what do you do?
So the captain runs that whole thing. So he's always communicating with the tankers and the shipping lanes and things. So
we got a swimmer here, get out of the way.
Well, you got to get out of the way for the tankers, basically. And these big swells come through every now and again, but you kind of get used to it.
And who were nicer, the French or the English?
Oh, definitely the French.
Really? Surprise a lot of people, huh? There we go. So that's the route that you...
That's the route, yeah.
Why
so you do a big sort of S.
Yeah, why do you do the S?
The tides change. So you start out and then the tide changes and you drop straight down like that.
It's very inefficient because it means your route's much longer.
Listen, if I was a quicker swimmer, there would be less of a curve, unfortunately.
Listen, I don't think anyone's here to criticize your swimming. We couldn't do this.
That was good.
Gareth, just from my side, so we're now watching this WhatsApp group the whole time. Now it's 1:30 in the morning. You spoke about guys, and clearly there'd been some guys on the thing. But and now Simon's been swimming the whole time, and he tells me that when he hit the land, so his arms had never given him trouble whatsoever during the whole swim. When he touched the land, and he sort of raises his hand and they blow the horn, and then he's officially done and he's good to go. He tells me that he goes then back to the boat, and he couldn't lift himself into the boat. Yeah. So that's how spent force he was.
So a rubber duck comes with you in the shallow bits, but then you get there and I think, cool, let's call a taxi.
Do you think it's adrenaline that just pushes you through
it? I think so, but I literally couldn't even swim back to that rubber duck, and getting in the boat was impossible.
And afterwards, did you immediately feel a day later stiff and like you had swum the English Channel?
Yeah, no, totally. So he also hits a lot of jellyfish on the route. So I had some big sort of roasties and things on the body from the stings.
God.
So that had added to it. So you're feeling it the next day for sure.
You're not going to do it again now. You've done
Not that swim. That one's done.
No, he's got another one.
Oh, really? Tell me what's next on your agenda.
So the next one's the Catalina Channel. So that's Los Angeles sort of side. So that's part of the big 3 marathon swims. So obviously done the New York swim around Manhattan, done the Channel now, and then there's that one to tackle next.
And then
year.
will you stop doing this stupid shit?
No, probably not.
What would you want to do after that? I mean, you can carry on forever. There's always going to be some body of water that is an adventure and a
there's always something.
mountain to climb, figuratively.
But a bit of training and focus keeps you out of trouble. It's good. That's
what did the family have to say? They must have been very proud.
Very proud.
Oh.
No, very proud. Listen, it was a big ordeal for them too. It's a lot of training, a lot of hours in the water. So obviously Natalie was there, my wife, and my brother and his son. But it was everyone else was here watching from the WhatsApp, basically. Yeah,
that's amazing. There's some sort of very spiritual picture with Michael Brown, who says, what mental mantras worked best for you at what points of the challenge? He wants you to share your mantras. But I mean, this is interesting. You said you were thinking, you were focused on that to keep you going. This is probably also why you didn't feel sore or weak or depleted until you got to the land and you tried to put your arms up to pull yourself onto the boat.
No, exactly.
So what were you saying?
So I had a long sort of list, and every hour the guys would write it on the board and say it's something new to think about. But I mean, a lot of my inspiration, I mean, obviously I read a lot of sort of David Goggins books and things like that, which were immensely helpful. That kind of mental strength, everything. When you get to sort of the 40% and you think you're done, it's actually only 40% complete, you're in terms of physically doing it. So it was a lot of that, a lot of sort of mental prep. But a lot of, swimming in the winter in the cold here. So I was swimming in sort of 12, 13 degrees here to get used to it. So then by the time you're in it, you're doing it. You're not going to stop.
No, you didn't. I remember you saying last time that you didn't just go into this blind.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of
because people can really, they can fail spectacularly.
Yes.
Bad things can happen if you don't know what you're doing, and you have to do training in order to get out there. And the people on your team have to be confident that you can do it, right?
I mean, there were a couple of swimmers out on the same day with other boats, and they just sort of, one guy just started drifting and I think was heading towards Iceland. They pulled him out at about 7 or 8 hours. So you do need a bit of luck and obviously a lot of
and strength.
And strength, yeah.
I mean, you've got to be in tremendous shape, and clearly you were more than capable of doing this. So what is the time? Are you happy with that time? Was that a pretty good time? How does it measure up against what other people have been able to do? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
That's the biggest one. I've got a twin brother who did it about 15 years ago. And he did it in 25 minutes quicker than I did. So he did it at 13.
Damn it.
He did it 13:50. But in answering your question, Gareth, you literally just want to finish that thing. It's really, it's actually the time in the water is really, I mean, you could do it faster, you could do it slow, but it's actually getting to the French coast and getting out, and that's the achievement. It's not really the time. So
I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool. So if people want to find out more about the TAG Foundation, where can they do that?
So we're on all the social platforms, but probably the best starting point is tagfoundation.co.za.
Fantastic.
On the web.
All right. So also, I think it's probably a good place to mention that if you are at a company or you're an individual who wants to help, you can get involved in all of that. And you guys actually do the stuff. It's not some big, organization that employs 1,000 people and pays salaries. The money goes to the kids in the school.
Yeah, so I was having this discussion with somebody that's also involved in the charitable space, and in terms of legislation in South Africa, to be a registered NPO, you actually only have to give 40% of the benefits back to the beneficiaries.
Oh, really?
And what's unique about TAG Foundation, I think, and something that we're extremely proud of, is that the TAG My Business pays for all we have a program manager, Senzo, who used to be a TAG boy himself. And any expense that's incurred by the foundation is actually paid for by the business. Wow. So literally every single cent that we raise goes straight to the beneficiaries. And I think that's a pretty unique sort of stance in South Africa. So many of the big corporates, strangely enough, actually don't like that model because they want to see like a big infrastructure. So it's a weird thing for me.
And I think also a lot of these non-profit organizations are sheltered employment for people and are actually just a way for them to not have to pay tax and give jobs for mates or whatever it might be. Because that's the truth. And we have apparently in South Africa, we have more registered non-profit organizations per capita when you compare us with the United States than any other country.
Look,
not just the United States.
If you look at how many people are on grants, we probably need them, but we need legitimate ones.
No, but that's the point. So I'm really glad you drew that distinction with what you do at the TAG Foundation, because I think people rightly, all over the world are seeing lots and lots of fake organizations that are on the take and that are actually just finding a way to launder or to hide money. And that's happened in America. I mean, there's a big story on the go at the moment about Minneapolis. But that you guys take it in 100% of everything that you raise. And I know how hard you work to raise that money too. That's not easy. 100% of that goes to the beneficiaries.
Lots of friends doing it.
I know you've been very successful in business with TAG, and it's a great organization. I love many of your people, Jolene among them, just terrific people. But have you got over the point where you feel awkward about asking people for money?
Yeah. I think that's long gone. When you see the success stories that you've had, it's like when you were a teenager dating. If you ask the right girls, you got 9 slaps, but the one you got lucky once. It's the same philosophy, to be honest with you. The more people you ask, the better chance you've got. And we have a story to tell, and the success stories and the children are actually the stories. They tell the stories themselves. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and they are spectacular kids. Well, now young men, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I just love the fact that this is you can see the kinds of guys that they turn out to be are the kinds of guys we need in this country. Leaders, characters, people of good manners, substance. They're absolutely the kind of people that you want to see in South Africa. So again, well done to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Terrific. And it's thanks to each of them, obviously.
And it's thanks to people. A lot of the money that we raise, actually, we've had some people do some incredible things for us as TAG Foundation. And it really does pull at the heartstrings when somebody's putting themselves out there in order to do something for these children, which really just shows you how special I think it really is. And that's why we're so appreciative of what Simon's done for us.
Yeah, Simon, well done, man.
No, thank you.
It's terrific. And, I suppose for those of us who will never swim the English Channel, we can feel a little bit of vicarious adventure living through you, which is exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well done. All right, thank you very much, Simon Wilkins and Jonathan Gerber, the CEO of TAG Travel, Jonathan, and a managing director at Galetti is Simon. He also, as you heard, swam the English Channel in 14 hours and 15 minutes. Every kilometer he swam helped fund education for students through the TAG Foundation, which provides bursaries and long-term mentorship to talented young boys from disadvantaged backgrounds and girls, I've got to add, giving them the chance to enter and attend at King Edward VII School, and an amazing organization. You can find out more about them at the TAG Foundation website. And also, since we were talking about them, because TAG is a travel business, not the foundation, but TAG Travel, you can find out more at travel.co.za, where there are also dream holidays available to become a reality for you. And if you book your travel now, you'll probably save a lot of time if you're booking it for the end of the year, and a lot of money. Get that stuff organized. I wasn't joking when I said earlier to Ben that I want to go to the Winter Olympics in 4 years' time. Maybe if I get in now, I can pay, and it'll be a whole lot cheaper than in 4 years' time. Who knows what the rand-dollar exchange will be like? Who knows if there'll be X country or Y country? We will have to find out. So anyway, I mentioned at the start of the show that I am
Look at this Ayatollah
annoyed.
T-shirt. Khomeini died years ago.
But Marge, it works on any Ayatollah. Ayatollah Nakhbada, Ayatollah Zahedi. Even as we speak, Ayatollah Razmara and his cadre of fanatics are consolidating their power.
I remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's walking around with an Ayatollah Asahola t-shirt. And I thought of it now with this week and everything that's been going on. So I wrote this thing. I'm going to quote variously from it through the course of this conversation. But, I keep having people saying to me, and I'm sure you've had to answer questions like this too, even if you're just an ordinary citizen of South Africa, and these are international affairs that have got everybody's attention. Maybe you also stuck for giving answers to these things. As I said a little while ago, the point is that the world is a different place to the world that we grew up on, that the software that we uploaded was designed to operate with. And I think that people are unaware of how much it's changed. And not just because of Donald Trump, and not just because of the rise of certain ideologies in society. They've, in the first 2 months of this year, the Trump administration has cut off the head of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. He's now in a prison cell next to P. Diddy in New York. Ayatollah Khamenei, who was in charge of Iran, and his troop of fanatic deputies have all been ground to dust in a very short space of time by a very efficient intelligence and military operation headed by America and backed by Israel. This has changed everything in that region very, very dramatically. There's a guy who you may not have even heard about in the last couple of weeks, a guy called El Mencho, who is a narco kingpin in Mexico. He was shot in the street by intelligence operators from the United States with the cooperation of some Mexican law enforcement. He was probably the second or the third most powerful narco terrorist in Central America. You will remember that Guzman was caught and is in jail in America, or Guzman was the guy who was killed. The head of the Sinaloa cartel was taken in a short while ago. America's doing a lot of heavy lifting all over the world at the moment, and it's impossible to ignore this stuff. In addition, I don't know if you saw the news that India has had some very, very powerful, very good, very strong discussions with Donald Trump in the last week, and they're all but out of BRICS. Now, you cannot pronounce BRICS without the I, and if India do leave BRICS, it's kind of a hollow organization. So that's going to have huge impact on the world's economy. China's facing an enormous oil shortage because they got a small amount of their oil from Venezuela. They can't do that anymore. They got a whole lot of their oil from Tehran at rock bottom prices because the sanctions that the Americans had imposed on Iran meant that they had to sell their oil to other people, and they would have dropped their price substantially to sell it to China. Now, China requires and needs an enormous amount of oil in order to produce and manufacture and grow their economy at the rate that it's always grown at. If they don't have cheap Iranian oil, that number comes down substantially. And when China faces a downward trajectory in terms of economic growth, that is disastrous for them. We don't know for a fact that the demographic pressures on China are exactly what they've said they are. We talked about the population a short while ago. Is it as big as the Chinese have been telling us it is? We don't know. But we do know that they claim to have 5% economic growth while they had cheap Iranian oil. If they have to revise that number down, it's going to be a major problem. So we'll have to see what happens there. Russia, the other important player in the Russia-China alliance. Russia is a country that, with all due respect, has the economy of the size of Spain's economy. It is not a powerful player. Russia is not this tremendous juggernaut that the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics once was. And while they have their tentacles in various markets and in various economies, it is important for people to realize that Russia is not a major economy in the world. They don't have, even though they have huge natural resources and are largely an independent economy, they have most of the things, the raw materials they need to be able to exist, even if everybody put them under sanction. The reality is the Russian economy is small. And those drones they've been using in the Ukraine war, quite apart from the fact that they've lost thousands, if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of men in this ongoing grinding battle against Ukraine, Russia needed drones from Iran. Iran manufactured the vast majority of Russia's drones, which have been used in that Ukraine war. And they cannot access those anymore because the men who they were dealing with are dead. This has an effect on Russia as it does on China. And if you don't see that this is all part of a much bigger and more complex plan by people like Susie Wiles, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump, then I think you're paying attention to the wrong news media. If they've explained it to you that this is good and that is bad, they're treating you like a child. They're not telling you the full story. You need to be aware of these things. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly confused and surprised, like our president clearly is. The other thing that's worth discussing is that the Arab states, particularly the Sunni Arab states in the Gulf, are now absolutely convinced, and should have been a long time ago, but they can be convinced after Iran, in their completely chaotic post-American Israeli action being taken, in that period they just wildly were firing missiles and rockets and sending drones into countries that were once their erstwhile friends, places like the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Yemen, Jordan, Syria, Iraq. Even the other day, I think Turkmenistan is the other country that had suddenly, there were armaments that were being unleashed in their direction. This is not good, and proves to those Sunni Arab states, certainly, that Iran was always a bigger enemy and harbored a much more dangerous grudge than Israel did. And that's worth discussing. I think that's a major shift in the region. Europe, of course, is the other place that we have to talk about. Europe is in managed decline, with a few notable exceptions. So if you've been paying attention, we made fun of Keir Starmer earlier. But honestly, Europe is not a player in the world of realpolitik anymore. And all of this is to say that you need to be very careful about where you get your news and who you pay attention to and which commentators are doing what for what reason. If they are, as many on the extreme right and on the extreme left in America, if they are trying to brandish an agenda ahead of the truth, you have to be very, very concerned that what you're going to get is unlikely to be the truth. And I think that this stuff is worth discussing. You could be one of those people in America who reads the New York Times and believes absolutely everything they tell you. You would be wrong. You would be making a big mistake. In News 24 in South Africa, the same thing. You've been told that Donald Trump is Orange Hitler. Everything that those publications and many others, it has to be said, have told you that hasn't happened is on them. They've lied to you. And all the things that they said wouldn't work and have worked is because they didn't know. They had no idea. They were ill-informed and had poor analysts and very bad opinion makers who were trying to follow an agenda of a preconceived fantasy world that is no longer there. Look at what Javier Milei is doing in Argentina. Every single major publication in the world was calling his government a failure before he'd even taken office as president. He announced just this week the most sterling results for the economy of Argentina that they've had in almost 2 generations. A country that has really gone through it all. They've had to deal with the Perons, Eva and Juan Perón. They've had to deal with socialist governments that have tried to strip away any economic value that they had. Javier Milei and his clearly quite capable and meritocratic government have turned all of that around. People are paying less tax. The economy is growing. The banking crisis is mostly over. Interest rates have come down. It's the kind of story that if it was a country where the media was interested in heralding the results of a sane economic plan, we would be hearing about it. But they just don't like talking about Milei because they were saying before he went in, it's not going to work. So, I mean, in short, if you're some SUV driving lesbian in Minneapolis who is toxically empathizing with Somalian daycare pirates, you're unlikely to know what's really going on. If you are a South African who is more interested in the personality politics of Paul Mashatile or which fat leader is going to take over the DA, you're not paying attention. If you're in Britain and you are more interested in the prurience of Prince Andrew's sweating and pizza restaurants in Woking, you're not paying attention. You should be paying attention to what is happening on the global stage and what it means for you for the next 5, 10, 15 years and what it means for your children. Because this stuff is not reversible. It's not going back to quote the awful language of 2020, the new normal that they were trying to sell us during COVID. That was abnormal. It wasn't a new normal. This, the political change that is being wrought by intelligence, by the military of the United States, by a change in policy with regard to how they're treating everybody in terms of tariffs, this is the new world. And you have to come to terms with it. And closing your eyes like a 5-year-old and pretending it's not happening is not going to make it go away. Iran is a fascinating country, and I have always said it's been on the top of my list of places that I want to visit. I want to go and see the ancient cities of Persepolis, what's left of Persepolis, not because of anyone now, but because of Alexander the Great and his army burning it down after they'd conquered the Persian Empire and sent then Emperor Darius into permanent exile and death. I want to go and see Pasargadae, where the tomb of Cyrus the Great is, where he says, in the most humble way for a man who was probably the first emperor on planet Earth, he says, I am Cyrus the Great, begrudge me not this small place to rest. A tomb that's the simplest tomb you could possibly imagine. It's still there. And you can go and see places like this. Iran has been mostly shut to people who wanted to experience something more ancient than the Ayatollahs. I was born before the Iranian Revolution, but only by a bit. So I've only ever known, and most of us have only ever known Iran as a place where you got Ayatollah Assahollah with his big turban issuing fatwas on people like Salman Rushdie. This is what most of us know about Iran. But Iran is a far more complex place. And it's not just Persia. There are Kurds in Iran. There are different tribes across various areas that are separated by vast mountain ranges that makes it a place of depth and cultures that actually the people of Baluchistan, for example, the Baluches, these are people who are so different to some of the tribes you will find in the far west of Iran. And it borders on the Persian Gulf, on countries like Turkmenistan, I mentioned earlier, Azerbaijan. I don't think Azerbaijan, I think Kazakhstan, places like that are not far away. But it's a place that is steeped in history. I mean, the Hindu Kush Mountains on the one side, Pakistan, obviously a neighbor as well. These are ancient places. The city that they found the new short-lived Ayatollah in, a place called Qom, Qom. Again, an ancient and holy city, not just to Islam, but it was on the old Silk Road. These are fascinating places that I want to visit, that I'm curious about, that I want to know about. And I see people talking now about how, Americans saying, oh, well, we'll just install the Shah's son, the Pahlavi crown prince. And I think you can't just install some guy because the Americans like him and because he's an urbane and popular person in the West. Iran now has to decide what it wants to do with itself, where it wants to go from here. And by no means is this going to be over quickly. I don't think this is going to be a forever war, which many people on the right in America are already claiming it is. We're 5-6 days in and they're going, oh, it's another Iraq or Afghanistan. It isn't. You've got to be reasonable about this. There are very different metrics by which we will measure the success or failure of this war. And remember, Donald Trump is betting his whole presidency on it, because we've now got the one extreme of, a couple of hours to get Maduro out of Venezuela, and everything is calm in Venezuela now. And Dina Rodriguez, the new president, she is happy to do anything the U.S. want. So the Western Hemisphere is now secure for America, which is something you would never have said under Obama, under Trump 1, under Biden. And certainly this was not even on the table back in the era of George W. Bush. It's a phenomenon to see how much change has occurred in this very short space of time. You are living through history. And to be fatuous about it and to try and make it black or white is just to simplify something that is worth understanding in a complex way. I think this is exciting. I don't love the idea of war. I'm not one of these people who will say, I think it was terrific that the Ayatollah was killed. But you have to also understand that Iran, despite the fact that you will be regaled with stories about how American servicemen have already lost their lives, many Iranians have been killed. I saw a U.S. congressman yesterday in the news talking about, a school was taken out by either Israel or America in Tehran. These things are going to happen. This is the nature of war. You don't get to have a clean war. We saw this in Gaza with Israel just a short while ago. But we've got to understand equally that this Iranian regime, which has been in place since 1979, has been the world's largest sponsor of terrorism, not just in the Middle East, where they have displaced some 30 million people from Syria, people from Yemen, people from Iraq. Let's not forget that Iran occupied that space when it was a vacuum. This regime, the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, essentially a murderous, terror-spawning operation inside of this very, very capable country, even though it was capable because it was run effectively by lunatics. 2 million people were killed in various places. Again, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Gaza. Iran was the puppeteer behind all of this. You have to, if you're going to say, 30,000 people may have been killed just in the last few weeks for protesting Iran, you have to take into consideration those other numbers I just gave you. And displacing those 30 million people from the Middle East because of Iranian terror operations is directly responsible for so much of the illegal immigration and the asylum seeking that we see in Europe now. In other words, it's also connected. And taking out the head of this regime and as many of his lieutenants, I don't know what the number is at the moment, but most of his deputies, gone. The new Ayatollah lasted, I think it was 6 hours before he was also gone. So don't be appointing a new Ayatollah yet. We'll play the Homer Simpson clip again so you can remember those names too, because they might just be in play. Who knows? And I don't know what's next for Iran, neither do you. But it's going to be a hell of a thing to watch. And you are living through history. Have I said enough? I think I've said enough. I think James and Flex are falling asleep there. Just every now and then, something's worth taking a closer look at. All right, I want to turn to Gideon Joubert, who is a friend of mine. He's also a South African security analyst, firearm policy commentator. He's a trustee of the South African Gun Owners Association and an independent security consultant, as well as a registered tactical firearm instructor. You can find him at Paratus on social media. And here he is, Semper Paratus, always ready, always prepared. Hello, Gideon. How are you?
Well, good morning, Gareth. And it's actually fantastic to speak to you on a Friday morning. I think we've been trying to do this for a while. We just haven't got to
Thanks
it.
for making time. I know you had to take the kids to school and a whole lot of other things, but I appreciate you being here. And it's an opportune time to talk about firearms, not just because You and I have had a number of conversations about how important it is for people in a country where we can't rely on the police or on private security necessarily. You have to be able to be your own last line of defense. We're a country of real crime. There are challenging situations for most of us. And why would you not want to be ultimately responsible for your own and your family's security if you could? Even in a country where everything is safe. And I put that in inverted commas because there are people who wake up in America, there are people who wake up in Canada and think they're safe, and the next thing a trans person bursts into your school and tries to kill your kids. It could happen anywhere in the world. You want to be able to meet fire with fire. You want to be responsible for your own security. But that's not why I brought you on today. Because there is a new piece of law that is being tabled. Proposed amendments to the Firearms Control Act of 2000 have recently surfaced, and I want to know from you what they are, why we should, if we should, worry about them, and what they mean for legal gun owners in South Africa and people who might aspire to be legal gun owners.
Morning. So, okay, I'm going to give you a very quick big picture overview of this. So these amendments are actually the exact same ones that we saw in 2021, and I think overwhelming public rejection during the public participation process there. The Civilian Secretariat for Police admitted to receiving about 118,000 public comments. At the time I was involved with in South Africa. Yeah, about 96% of the 97,500 comments that platform facilitated in getting to the CSP overwhelmingly or just outright rejected these amendments. So they were not popular among the public. I recall having an on-air discussion on 702 with John Matham at the time, and he thought it was ridiculous, by the way, that South Africa would even consider banning self-defense as a reason to own firearms and lump all these unworkable restrictions onto gun owners that are already voluntarily complying with the law anyway. And then they disappeared for a while. And then about middle last year, they resurfaced via the Civilian Secretariat, ending up at a NEDLAC process in about 4th of December last year, where a whole bunch of us attended. And that was actually a great engagement on it. And what they've done is they took all the public inputs and somehow actually made it worse. They took this piece of draft legislation.
So just let me get this right. So you get hundreds of thousands of South Africans commenting and interacting and putting their ideas onto paper, submitting these to the required authorities for consideration. And this was not enough to make the people who want to propose this legislation think, hang on, this is not just unpopular, but we're in danger of upsetting the balance of laws and protections that people require in a functioning state. They just ignored them?
They just ignore them, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The one was where they admitted to actually taking a step back and say, okay, we're not going to outright ban Section 13. That is the section of the Firearms Control Act that regulates ownership of firearms for purposes of self-defense. They said, well, we'll allow it, but you're going to have to prove extenuating circumstances, not actually explaining what is extenuating circumstances, what does that entail. In my opinion, just living in this country where we have a successful prosecution rate for homicide that is about 9%, where we successfully prosecute or get convictions for fewer than 6% of all reported rape cases, ignoring how underreported rape is, and where the average prosecution rate for trio crimes, that is robbery at residential premises, robbery at non-residential premises, and vehicle hijacking, this is where people with guns generally come and take your stuff and shoot you if you don't give it to them, and sometimes shoot you if you do. That averages 2.5% successful prosecution rate. So you're in a country that is already criminally chaotic with one of the highest homicide rates in the world. And you say, well, I'm sorry, guys, but that doesn't count as a good enough reason to own a firearm for self-defense. In addition to that, they put ridiculous and unworkable restrictions on the number of firearms you as a sports shooter or dedicated sports shooter or dedicated hunter are allowed to own in total. I think you may own no more than 6. And I'll get to why that's ridiculous in a moment. That was one of the specific sections that were rejected almost the most. And then they came back and their feedback was, well, since you didn't give us a number of how many guns you think you should be allowed to own, we're just going to stay with the original one because it's a progressive step to restrict it, i.e. civilian disarmament for the sake of the state's own paranoia is considered to be a progressive step, and ignoring the public input completely and not engaging on it further enhances this progressive step. I need to point out.
Yeah. Sorry, I hate to interrupt you because I'm fascinated with what you're saying, but ideas are coming to mind that I think we need to just go back to basics on. Why is our government, whether it's the GNU as it is now, that is proposing these legislative changes to the Firearms Control Act, or the government that originally drafted them, which was an ANC government, why do they not want ordinary citizens to have guns?
That is a question I don't actually have an answer for you because I haven't been able to ascertain it precisely. But if I had to read my tea leaves and read between the lines regarding how they changed the preamble of the act, which was to restrict the object of this amendment bill is not to enhance safety and security or the constitutional right to life. It is to restrict public access to firearms in order to enhance or preserve public order, i.e. that tells me that the government sees every lawfully armed South African as a potential violent insurrectionist and terrorist and national security threat, and that there needs to be a death grip placed on this population group. What is not admitted is that there are only about between 2.5 and 3 million legally licensed firearm owner or licensed firearm owners in the Republic of South Africa in total. It's not a huge number of people, but it's not tiny. There are about, depending upon which source you go to, if you go according to the Global Small Arms Survey in Geneva, there's about 2.5 to 3 million illegally held firearms in South Africa. And if you go with other credible estimates and surveys, that number could be up to 6 million. So the best case scenario is that only 50% of all guns in civilian hands in this country are licensed and voluntarily submit to the provisions of the Firearms Control Act, with the other 50% just being out there. So what the government's doing is it's very intensively trying to restrict the people that are already voluntarily complying with the law and doing absolutely nothing to the other 50% of this pool. And where this gets particularly interesting is the state, the Civilian Secretariat for Police, commissioned research by the Wits School of Government in 2015. And they told the WSG to say, listen, we want you to take a look at the 15-year period from the year 2000 until 2014 and tell us what effect the Firearms Control Act of 2000 had on crime and violence in this country. And the results came back that it had no meaningful effect at all, and that any changes in crime trends, especially violent crime trends, murder trends, and even trends pertaining what they call firearm-related crimes, responded almost 100% correlation to the level and strength of policing. So the stronger your policing is, the more targeted your policing activities for a year, and the more of them there are, the more crime goes down, which is actually the most uncontroversial conclusion I can think of, because it makes complete sense that that's how it would work. And in one of the recommendations, in fact, the first recommendation in that paper by the WSG was that the state must, and this is the exact words, must shift its misplaced focus on gun control legislation and shift that focus to strengthening policing.
I agree.
Not only was that research not publicly released, a whole bunch of organizations had to do PIA requests in order to obtain it. Now that we have it, the state is trying very hard to discredit and ignore it. Our opponents of Gun Free South Africa love saying, well, it's not peer reviewed, even though government's commissioned research does not have to be peer reviewed. There's no requirement for it, and no one is engaging with the actual contents and substance and quality of this research at all.
I think that you're hitting the nail on the head there, and it's not really reading the tea leaves. Clearly, this government are doing what they always do. They might not dislike the idea that there are legal firearm owners in South Africa, people who have to jump through hoops. I had to do my gun license. I had to resubmit. I had to appeal. Eventually, I got it. And I think that's the case for many people. They make it as hard as possible for you to get the license. And I mean, even if you're a sports shooter or you're someone who has to go through even more licensing and very onerous conditions just so that you can have, the ability to go and clay pigeon shoot or target shoot or any of those things. They make it as hard as possible because this is what they do. There's an incompetent and awful part of South Africa where nobody follows the rules, in this case, criminals who have guns, and they will do bad things with those guns. And in order to get to look like you're doing something, you go after the ones who already comply with the law. If someone is driving on the road and they are an insured car owner and they have an accident, they are insured so they can pay for the costs on their side of the equation for the accident. But that car owner is also paying a tax on their petrol to the road accident fund for those people who have not paid their own insurance. So the person who follows the law, the person who does the right thing, gets penalized twice. If you happen to think that maybe it is a good idea for your kids to go to a private school, you pay for them to be in a private school, but your taxes are also going to fund a whole lot of government schools. This is just how it works. So I think the same thing is happening here. Plus, I don't suppose it made no impression on government at all. During the unrest in KZN and other parts of the country a while ago, where ordinary citizens who were armed and had ammunition and decided they were going to protect their own communities came out, and I think that frightened the hell out of the government. They suddenly decided, we need to do more about these guns, because these legal firearm owners might actually be able to stand up for themselves should government come knocking on their door trying to take their stuff.
That's a big part of it. What they also forget and never seem to speak about is that the police in KZN ran out of ammunition, I think, within the first 24 hours of that stuff kicking off. And I've spoken with people in various communities there that reloaded on their own reloading presses 9mm ammunition for handguns that they just were just feeding to the police and where they could in order to keep them sort of still out there with something to fill their service pistols with. The paranoia of behind this thing is the state is obsessed here with trying to get back its supposed monopoly on the use of force, which it lost ages ago. If you just look at the size and the extent and the effectiveness of the criminal underworld, it's never going to get that. If I was very naughty, I would, especially with the Madlanga Commission thing coming out, I would ask the question whether or not the state is being very precious here to try and protect some of its criminally active associates from armed citizenry via something like this. I can't make that accusation, but I would certainly ask that question considering where it's coming from. And that comes back to two big myths that are completely untrue. The one is that South Africa sits with a firearms proliferation problem, which we don't. Firearms in civilian hands in South Africa, there's about 9.8 guns for every 100 civilians. We're in 89th place worldwide, according to the Global Small Arms Survey. Countries that have more guns per 100 civilians than we do, for example, are Australia, who have nearly 50% more. I think they're sitting about 15. Then you're looking at your Germany's, your France's. France and Germany say about 19 guns per 100 people. That's double our civilian firearm ownership rate. In the high 20s, like 27, 28, 29, you're getting your Switzerland's, your Finland's. Canada is way up there. I think Canada's at 32. And then the US is obviously a major outlier. They're at about 120 guns per 100 people. So more guns than people.
Wow.
All of these countries significantly lower rates of crime and violence and murder than we do. So we do not sit with a firearm proliferation problem. What we're sitting with is a completely dysfunctional policing, a broken criminal justice system, guns in the wrong hands. A lot of that coming from the state itself, some of it coming across border, i.e. the scandal where corrupt civilian policemen are getting in on the action and smuggling Uzis and AKs to the Cape Flat gangs and flower trucks. I think that revelation came out end of last year. And then this myth that, well, if we have fewer civilians owning guns in South Africa, there'll be fewer guns that are being stolen and circulating in criminal groups, which is also nonsense. I looked at 10 years of SAPS data. on average, about 6,000 to 7,000 so-called civilian firearms are reported as lost or stolen every year. Now, this includes traffic police, metro police are counted as civilian guns from other parastatals. We'll get to that in a moment. Security companies, it's not just mom and dad and people like you and me who get robbed in the suburbs and a gun goes missing. There's a big asterisk next to what counts as civilian firearm loss. That said, that 6,000 to 7,000 a year represents less than 0.2% of the total estimated pool of guns already in unlawful possession. So it's statistically negligible, firstly. And once you start bringing in the recovery rates, SAP's recovery rates of firearms have significantly declined over the past few years, but it's still averaged more than 100%, i.e. over the past 10 years, the SAPS have recovered more guns than were reported as lost and stolen in the first place, meaning historic stock out of this illicit market has disappeared. So the idea that it's people like you and I that are part of the problem just doesn't withstand scrutiny on statistics. Meanwhile, before her death, Jenny Irish Golabane did a great thing. I think it was for the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, where she said, there's about 2.2 million guns in state possession, and we don't know where most of them are because only the SAPS actually report on their armories. None of the other ones, not the SANDF, none of the other numerous state entities that own guns have any idea where these firearms are. So I'd say that's a far bigger problem.
That is a much bigger problem, and we haven't got any answers from government on this. I mean, there are commissions of inquiry into Kat Matlala and all kinds of other things. Surely 2 million guns should be a question that someone in Parliament is asking. Where are they? What are they doing? Who's got them? Are they being used for crime? These are questions we need answers for long before they expect citizens to take on extra responsibility or they take our rights away. Government should account for itself and show us that they are the responsible custodian of, as you put it, the monopoly on force, the monopoly on violence. So let's just talk about the change they want to make here. And your argument, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they are putting the issue of self-defense at stake. And self-defense is, we're talking in legal terms here. So one of the reasons that you can take a person out, let me just use the right terminology here. When you try to neutralize a threat with self-defense, you can take that to its maximum use of force if your life is directly threatened or the life of someone else is, and you are responsible for looking after that person, for example. So you're not going to be accused of murder if you can prove it was in self-defense. That's essentially what the law allows you to do. But self-defense, as most of us civilians understand it, is that self-defense is what you have to do if someone attacks you. So what part of this are we talking about with regard to the legislation and the changes they want to make?
So I'm not exactly sure how this would impact lawful self-defense downstream in its current form, because there's a big question about how it would be regulated. However, it does appear that it's in the draft amendment itself. It says, previously, if you owned a gun for hunting or sport shooting, you could use that gun for self-defense purposes as long as you use it lawfully. So no one's going to throw the book at you for saying, look, there was a guy who broke into my house at 3 a.m. The first thing I could get a hold of was my hunting rifle or my sport shooting pistol. And when he attacked me and tried to kill me, I shot him with that. And there are actually cases of that happening. There are numerous cases over the years that you can verify in the news media of that was how it went down. If they remove that provision that you are allowed to use different firearm license categories for different purposes so long as they're lawful, it puts you potentially in a jam where should you defend your life with a firearm, and it's not licensed for self-defense, that you could potentially face legal consequences for that. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I can read.
So you used the wrong gun. So they're going to. Yeah. So in other words, instead of being allowed the defense of self-defense, They're going to say, oh, no, well, this guy was grossly incompetent. He got his hunting rifle instead of his pistol, or he used a shotgun instead of the semi-automatic rifle. He's going to have to go to jail just because he used the wrong tool.
Well, there's a risk of that. And this is the thing, right? Bad legislation leaves these gaps that can create extremely negative outcomes downstream. Whether or not that's the intent is obviously the open question. But I just want to, so self-defense, not being a general provision to say that, well, you need to prove special circumstances. A lot of when I was still doing full-time firearm instruction, a lot of the guys that were coming through me were ones that were armed security officers. They were working as armed response officers for various of the armed response companies. And many of them were becoming concerned at a point and said, look, they live in the township. They have to wear their uniform to work, and they're becoming extremely concerned about being targeted, even though, they don't carry the company's guns home, but, they're permanently employed. They have valuables. They have families to protect.
Sure.
The amount of administrative assistance I had to give these poor guys because of how difficult it is to just navigate the paperwork sort of regime at the moment to get a self-defense license was extensive. It's a complicated process. You know exactly how bad it can be. Now we're taking an already complicated process that is 100% denying people with legitimate need for a self-defense firearm access to that defensive tool. You're taking that process and you're making it even worse, meaning the end result here is you are going to end up making it more elitist than it already is. So the guys that are living in the most dangerous areas, doing dangerous work, will just be completely out of luck. And naturally, what they will then do is probably try to get a hold of a firearm illegally, because they might, in all honesty, be that desperate. So it's, again, exactly as we saw with the cigarette taxes during lockdown. You're going to just drive people into a thriving black market that's going to exacerbate the problem in all likelihood. The second big issue,
maybe that's the plan. If you are a conspiracy theorist, and that's very en vogue at the moment, you might believe that perhaps that's what bad people, bad actors, crooks in government might want to do, is force this into a black market where it is beyond the eyes of the law, and where people will make huge profits. Or lots of small profits with lots of people that turn into large profits.
Well, that's the thing. And if you look at just the average Zama armory, I mean, the stuff you see these guys running around with in Joburg, it's full auto AKs, and a lot of those look brand new to me. It's not all just rust buckets that get taken off them. I think there was at least one case of a belt-fed PKM machine gun, which was never in a single NDF armory, as far as I'm aware. So that came across the border. And then these additional verified stories of Lesotho Defense Force firearms ending up coming across the border and arming these guys. It's obvious that the cross-border flow of weapons is extensive, that as long as there's a demand for guns, because there's no consequences for violent crime, which will then obviously drive the demand for the tools with which to perpetrate them, there will be a black market, free market solution for that demand gap. Also add to the fact that we only inspect about 3 to 5% of all shipping containers allegedly that arrive in this country, and you get a picture that corrupt state institutions, corrupt border officials, just everything the way it is. There's nothing that is going to prevent criminal access to firearms in this country if they want it. The only people that are actually going to be regulated are guys like you and me and everybody else that are trying to actually just do it legally.
All right, I want to talk about something else. Let's just talk about the line between state responsibility for safety and personal responsibility for safety. I kind of opened with this, but I think it's the province of people like you who are expert in this field to be able to talk about where that line is. Clearly in South Africa, as much as there are good cops who are trying their very best, and I'm sure there are probably policemen and women in South Africa who genuinely entered the force in order to do good, to keep people safe, to try to improve the community they live in. And maybe because it offered them a chance to train with firearms, to get the bad guys, and plenty of other motivations too. we can't rely on our police the way that people in America, Australia, Canada, wherever else might be able to. There aren't the number of police we need. We have I think it's one policeman for every 4,000 South Africans the last time I checked, somewhere around there. And that's just too much for one policeman to be able to deal with. Plus we have high incidences of not just crime, but violent crime. So how much responsibility can the average citizen take, and how much can we rely on the police, in your opinion?
So I think we can even boil it down to a more basic thing on that. So if you look at the constitutional mandate of the South African Police Service, and I think it's about 10 items, and you can just boil it down and summarize as saying the mandate of the SAP is to fight crime. And that, there's visible policing, there's crime prevention, there's investigations, there's crime intelligence, and all these things working together in this machine to fight crime. What it is not mandated to do at all is act as the personal guardian, protector, or bodyguard of any individual citizen at all. That's just not what the SAPS is there to do. There was a court case in the US a number of years ago where a citizen that was a victim of crime that phoned the police arrived and didn't directly intervene to help them. And he sued the cops and said, well, your mandate is to serve and protect, and you failed at it. And the court actually found that, no, in fact, the police mandate is not to put their own lives in unnecessary risk to intervene on behalf of a citizen. That is not what it's for. They are there to serve the community in aggregate. They're there to fight crime in general and in aggregate for the entire population group and not for individuals. That means the responsibility for your personal safety, your personal security, all these sorts of things lie directly with you as the individual citizen. Nobody else is going to have that responsibility instead of you, and nobody else will ultimately be accountable, because the accountability is a direct consequence of what happens to you. I like saying you are always the first responder to your own personal emergency or personal crime scene. Nobody else will get there before you, and your own personal resilience and what you can do in those moments is going to be greatly determinant of what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, how much trust do you think South Africans have in the police and the government, in our members of parliament, our executive? How much trust do you think they have, especially when we see how horribly we were lied to during COVID, how things were mismanaged, how the economy seems to be in, at least stagnation and possibly worse? I don't think trust is very high, Gideon, and I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. And when trust is low,
there was a victim of crime survey, I think last year, and they do these every year, Stats SA, and there's always a measure where they say, well, what is the public trust in the SAPS? And I think it was under 22% of the public were willing to say that they trust the South African Police Service. Obviously, the statistical release unpacks all the reasons for it. But I mean, you just have to look at, it was in the news a week or two ago, the lawsuits or the value of the claims against the SAPS for unlawful arrest and other abusive activities that the police did. Now, this, whether it's physical assault, rape, policemen robbing members of the public, all this sort of stuff. It was a couple of billion rand. And I think the police minister, Feroz Kachalia, mentioned, said, oh, this is unsustainable and unacceptable. But that's where we are. You have, I think, I can't remember exactly what the number of policemen per citizen ratio was, but I know it was more than double the, double being a bad thing in this case, as in there were double as many civilians per one policeman as the applicable global standard recommendation is. That's the first problem. The second one is, what is the quality of the police officer? You look at the pervasive stories of policemen locking themselves in the police station because it's too dangerous for them to have these stations or community service centers open after dark. It paints you a picture of where we are, right? It's not a mystery.
All right. Is there any example that you can cite? I'm asking you to be devil's advocate here. Is there any example you can cite that would indicate that harsher gun laws, stricter gun laws, actually reduce crime anywhere in the world? Because there must be places like Gun-Free South Africa where they they've found examples. They've done the research. They go, oh, well, here's an example of when crime came down because they made harsher gun laws.
So I can't actually think of a single example that I can't trump with a counterexample. People love pointing to Japan as an example, where I say, well, it's not as if Japan is free of guns. They are allowed to own certain firearms. They're just extremely strict. But you also have to look at what Japanese society is. This extremely homogenous, high trust, almost alien society that is not really replicated anywhere else except in Japan itself. And you find parts of it in South Korea or similar type of societal behaviors in parts of South Korea and Singapore. But it's a very unique picture. And then the other side of the spectrum, you have Switzerland, which has extremely liberal gun laws, where because of the nature of its conscription, you have pretty much every able-bodied adult has a automatic machine gun in their house and ammunition. And just taking a look at the gun culture they have there, they openly carry their rifles on the trains and in coffee shops when they go to shooting days. Nobody freaks out about it. Switzerland, to me, is a perfect example of the counterpoint and say, well, you don't have super strict gun laws. One of the safest countries in the world, maybe it's not the gun laws that have made it super safe. I can find you plenty of examples of super strict gun laws leading to or being correlated with very negative outcomes. Venezuela, I don't think I have to unpack details about Venezuela. We're seeing what's happening in Mexico right now. I mean, that's a great example of extreme restrictions on civilian gun ownership correlating directly with the most ridiculous visceral violence from the cartels that it's like something out of a movie. And then
just by the way, I was just thinking this morning about Iran. Donald Trump has said in one of his truth socials in the last while, I want the people of Iran to take control of Iran. The difficulty is that Iran did have very strict gun laws. Very few people in Iran have firearms. And the Iranian Republican Guard Corps has a lot of firearms, and there are 150,000 of them. So even if there are millions of Iranians who want to rise up now and take control of their government, as we saw them protest this government just a short while ago, how are they going to do it without firearms? You've got to be very careful when you're a nation and you hand your firearms to the state, because then when the state decides to do things, you have no recourse.
Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, another great example is Ukraine. When the Russian invasion initially kicked off, I think it was February 2022, and there was a very sudden reversal of the very prohibitive and restricted firearm laws in Ukraine, where essentially they said, well, we're just handing out assault rifles to everybody now. So if you're a civilian, grab one, because the actual nation state is under attack and we're not coping. I don't know if that is still in force right now. If it isn't, it should be. The other nation, Israel, had extremely restrictive, and they voluntarily decided that they should have extremely restrictive gun control laws. I think it was either in the late 90s or early 2000s. Then the 7th of October attacks happened. And I do believe that there's been a reversal on that, because it's been one of my best examples. I said, if the people in the kibbutzes and in the settlements and villages and towns that were attacked, if you just had some armed civilians there that were capable of occupying the insurgents for any number of minutes, shoot back at them, maybe wound or kill a few, diminish their ability to project force and be lethal, you may have seen countless numbers of lives saved by just that exponential multiplier effect of it. It's not a shooting gallery anymore. You are now coming under fire from the civilians. They are busy wounding and killing your friends. They're keeping you pinned down. Your progress is severely inhibited. And this buys the authorities and the emergency services and the military time to respond, where otherwise it's far more chaotic situation where the enemy has all the initiative. I did mention that on High FM, I think, at the time, and I do believe that there has been changes regarding how the Israelis look at.
Well, I mean, Gideon, I don't think it's untrue to say that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is to have a good guy with a gun. And we saw that on Bondi Beach in Australia not so long ago, right? we see countless examples of this in America. And I do want to end on America. We're running out of time here, but often the anti-gun people cite America as the best example of a country where too many guns, too lax a set of controls on those guns, American firearm, incidents, sky-high school shootings, they claim, as being a big part of this. Often when some mad ideologue or disgruntled member of the public, as happened in Austin, Texas, just a couple of days ago, brandishes a gun and goes and kills innocent civilians, they say, well, that's an example of a gun society as opposed to a gun-free society. What would you say to those people?
Well, I'd say let's just statistically address it. So, United States, 120 guns per 100 people, intentional homicide rate of about, between 5 and 6 per 100,000 people, murders per 100,000 people. South Africa, 9.8 guns per 100 people, right? So I don't think not even 10%. And our homicide rate is 45 murders per 100,000 people. How is our anti-gun society working out for us? The second is almost every single statistic about gun violence in America that we get through our mainstream corporate media is polluted and twisted. When you start counting gang shootings in parking lots of schools as a school shooting, that is absolutely polluting that entire statistic. So you get these ridiculous claims that there'll be 100 and something school shootings in America just this year alone. You go, no, there hasn't. There were gangbangers that were shooting each other on a school premises or near a school premises, probably in, the 7 metros, inner cities and 7 metros where pretty much 90% of all so-called gun violence happen. We're not allowed to say it's a societal problem. We're not allowed to say it is attached to a specific socioeconomic demographic or that there are issues within specific subsects of certain communities and that those need to be addressed. We have to paint America with this broad brush and say, look how violent they are. Yet, even at their worst, even if you're being your most uncharitable to America regarding their violence rates and their gun ownership rates, they are still about 700% more peaceful than we are. So how now? What do we do with that information?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they will always try to twist every statistic and twist the hearts and minds and tell people, oh, isn't this a tragic situation? Turns out that all those left-wingers in America who are so anti-ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement branch of Homeland Security, it turns out, and I saw this was said just this week on one of the big podcasts, and it blew my mind. ICE has killed less people in the last 6 months than trans shooters.
Yep, that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, transgender nutcases have killed more people in America than ICE. And yet ICE is just the most demonic, evil, awful organization that needs to be completely disbanded. And trans is great.
Yeah, because, firmly believing that you were born in the wrong body and that you should have surgical procedures on your genitals, taking that view of life and reality, combining it with firearms, is not going to end badly for anybody.
Great idea. No, of course, it's very good. Listen, I mean, I could talk to you. I could talk to you all day. We are running out of time. Just some final words and where people can follow you for more, because I think I can see there are lots of questions and people who want to engage with you at some point. Just wrap up with that for me if you can, Gideon.
So they can find me under Gideon Hubert _Paratus on X. It's a lovely platform, very robust.
Yeah.
Or you can find me under paratus.info. That's the website. I haven't updated the writings there in a while, but I will get to it. Life has just been a bit much, but that's where you'll find me most of the time. Yeah.
Fantastic. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for helping us clear up what is going on in the world of trying to amend the Firearms Control Act. And I hope we see you again soon. Thanks, Gideon.
Thanks, Gareth. Take care, everybody.
All right, and that's a wrap on this week's show. There's a lot. I feel like I've talked too much. If you thought I talked too much, then let me know in the comments. If you like and subscribe, you can find out more. We will be back with another episode live next Friday. Make sure you join us. Big thank you to all of our guests and to everybody who was alive in the comments section and making a lot of noise. We will see you in a week's time. Ciao. Be good.
Catch up. They're kicking as a country. One talk. My banner, please disappoint me again. I knew it, my banner. You. Cross those legs, you. Cross those legs, you and my banner. You, that person on top of my banner. Go.